Is the music on?
There's no music.
Okay,
Sorry.
I didn't know if I was supposed to wait for the music or not. Hey, it's a giant Bombcast.
Hey, everyone.
It's March the 2nd. It's 2021. It's Tuesday. I'm Brad, joined by Danny, Jeff, Jason. We're doing this. I think it's on. It's happening.
All right, great. That's good because I blocked out some time here.
Oh, good. How long you got?
Got a hard out at 2. No, I'm here. I'm ready to talk about the news.
Let's
get into it. No,
that's the happenings, the events of the day. I hope you're ready to talk.
Oh no. I'm here to listen. I just figured I listen. I only speak in these 4 buttons.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's 1.
Okay.
That's 2. Ooh. That's 3. And that's 4.
Can I hear number 2 again?
Nice.
I'm trying to
turn
place
those
it
up. That seems a little low.
It is a little low. I'm trying to place that. Is that a RoboCop?
No. I don't know.
No. I've heard it. I mean, an air horn is just an air horn.
Get the disturbed guy there.
But a gunshot.
No, I have to reroute. I have to load some other stuff up. I mean, that's pretty relatively trivial though. So I guess I could just hold for impact.
This week, Jeff will be speaking exclusively in soundboard.
Yeah.
Just looking forward to deciphering your thoughts.
The future is now. That's how we are finally gonna do this. I think if I do this,
those knuckleheads in Congress have done it again.
That's right.
That's right. Yes, indeed. Danny,
hey,
you're here again with your red microphone cable. And
is it?
I feel inadequate. I feel like you have upped the microphone game here.
Wow, it's very festive.
It's my Christmas. I'm very embarrassed actually. I haven't taken it down. Jason will
appreciate. The Undertaker just picked up the Twisty Rockets.
Okay. Well, Danny's here with the Twisty Rockets, ready to twist.
I was playing Rock and Roll Racing last night. But
yeah.
That's a different video game.
Yeah.
It has like some homing balls there on the hovercraft, like the last unlockable vehicle has. It's not quite Twisty Rockets, but it's up there.
What game is that from? What's the wrestling racing game?
WWE Crush Hour.
Oh yeah,
a
classic. My favorite wrestling game is still that. My favorite WWE wrestling game is still that Xbox 360 one where they kind of made everyone look like figurines. What was that again?
Oh,
All Stars.
Yeah.
That was solid. It's
a great game.
I mean, WrestleMania and all those.
Fantastic. Really I just bought it and recently tried to have it play in my Xbox One X or Series X, and it's not backwards compatible. Oh. Very sad.
Those licensed games never are. Because they have to.
What a bummer.
I think for them to be backwards compatible, I think they also must sell them on the store.
Okay.
The digital store. And since that was a THQ game, who even owns that?
Oh, I think you know.
The Embracer Group.
I would guess that particular IP has been embraced.
No, that's the thing is the IP is not like 2K controls that IP now.
The rights for that game in particular. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe you're right.
I don't know if they bought that or if they just bought a bunch of THQ IP. They may not have purchased actual software or anything.
I think you're right. I think they bought piecemeal IP from the THQ fire sale.
Yeah,
not necessarily the whole thing, including the name. I guess they got the name as part of the package deal.
Sure, why not?
And then stopped using it.
I mean, someone bought Acclaim like not long after Acclaim went down. There was a new Acclaim.
Wait,
it was selling like free-to-play points cards in stores and stuff like that. It was weird. It was weird.
Same logo?
No, different. I think they did a different logo, which is even weirder because what's the one thing about Acclaim that?
Right, literally.
Yeah,
the one thing.
Yeah.
Boy. All right. Well, here we are. Danny, I like to think that your microphone cable is actually black and it's just heating up so much from the hot game you're spitting. About games. It is glowing red.
Chat.
I was going to say to Jason, and Jeff will definitely appreciate this as well. Not that you're not an audiophile, Brad, but the colored XLR, very handy when you're routing cables and routing.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Stuff. Like, because you're like underneath a table somewhere and you're like, which one is it? Like USB. They should do colored USB cables for the same reason. It's an absolute lifesaver.
I used to buy colored HDMI cables when I worked at Game Informer because people would steal them. So I would keep getting the really gaudy orange ones for down in my production room, and they would still and I would know who took them because they've got a bright orange fucking HDMI cable coming out of the back of their TV.
And then you go kick Dan's chair and take his cables and
eliminate all plausible deniability. I like it. Hello, hi. How's everybody doing? What have you all been playing?
I'm super over here thinking about cable routing and different colored cables and all this other stuff because so being colorblind, I would have to like stay away from certain color combinations. But I always think, and I the only time I've ever really done it is with home theater speaker wire is like take a piece of tape, wrap it around it, and write front left on it or something like that. And that's specifically because like the color combinations on those cables, like I usually can't discern them, so I have to do that. And then on the other end of when I have them run up through the ceiling and around for the back speakers. And I had to make sure I got the right ones and the right ones. That's my story.
You need like a patterned cable, but that's going to be expensive.
Totally. Like here's this one looks like a zebra. This one looks like a leopard. Like, all that. Like here's one with spots. Here's one with tiny little clouds. I would absolutely do it.
What happened to cables with lights on them? Remember there were like lightning cables you could get for a while that had like little lights that traveled up the cable?
I had the sweetest lightning. I had one of those in my car for a good long time. And then one day, like I just like closed the center console too hard or something. And it pinched it in such a way that the lights went out. The cable still worked. The lights went out. It was
the day the lights went out on the cable.
Yeah. I missed that cable. It was a good cable. I would pull into drive-thrus back when you did stuff like that, and people would go like, "Wow, that's a nice cable."
It's really it's the number one selling point of a cable is if you can impress people in the drive-thru with it.
Yeah, that's if you're not blowing minds in the drive-thrus, what are you even doing?
It's not trying hard enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, honestly, my thought process was this is a video game podcast, so I guess I should bring up video games. But if you just want to talk cable management for the next 45 minutes, I am game.
I want to talk about drive-thrus.
Yeah, I've got a big power strip under here that every slot is filled, and I don't want a baby messing with it, so I threw a pair of track pants over it. That's my idea of cable management.
Security through obscurity.
Okay.
That's a baby deterrent. Your track pants.
It's so far this particular pair. I don't know
if you wear them long
Just
enough.
Afraid of them.
They can deter just about anybody.
Yeah, no, they'll get filthy for sure. They'll get real filthy. Let's talk about drive-thrus though. What's your favorite drive-thru style? Like, do you like a 2-window setup, a 1-window setup?
There used to be a Sonic where I lived in Annapolis, and that was pretty cool because I'd never seen one of those before. The car hop service style thing. Come out to you and stuff, which would
they actually wear roller
now.
skates, like literal roller skates, or no?
Nah. Maybe when the supervisor comes over once a month, they all put them on, but not when I was there.
There was an A&W here that had car hop service, and they had roller skates, and they would skate out of the car, and then if you went inside, they had an image fight cabinet, like the scrolling shooter. Yeah. I think is what it was in there. But that place has changed hands like 9 different times, and it's just like this cursed restaurant location that still has all the lanes for car hop service, but now no one uses it for that. No restaurateur that has done anything with that property since. So it's been like, now it's a Greek restaurant, and our parking lot sucks and is weird. And I think now it is a Mexican place that was one of the last restaurants I think I went to before he stopped doing that, and it fucking sucked. But also you were in there and you're like, this sure was the A&W, wasn't it? Like just looking at everything, you could tell like this, this is a really funky, strange place.
That's like my dream though, to turn like an ex fast food place into an office or something.
Yep.
We rented I rented an Airbnb for Jeremy, who was going down to film a documentary on Dream Daddy in Los Angeles. And I just rented one that was like the closest to their office. And it turns out it used to be an ex-Hertz rental office. That they turned it. And like he sent me pictures because it took him forever to find it because he was like, it's clearly not this building because it was just like boarded up. But when you went in, it was like fully decked out, like it had living quarters, and the kitchen was the like kitchen that Hertz
Oh,
people
sure,
used to
right,
use, and
yeah.
but it was huge, and everything was blacked out, so people couldn't see in. So there's all these kids like skateboarding like right up against the wall outside, and they didn't know. Like he opened like the steel door to leave, and they were like, "What the fuck? Like, what are you living in there?" Yeah,
That's crazy.
that sounds kind of great. Like just
Yeah.
a weird like rebirth of some like a McDonald's or a Burger King. You just
Or, you know, these days a shopping mall. You probably get those
Right.
pretty cheap.
Right, yeah, like Epic did. They're buying everything.
Yeah.
So I can't remember where we've talked about it before, but I don't know if it was publicly or privately. But like the idea of just like getting a disused McDonald's or like very recognizable fast food location where you just look at it and go like, this was a Pizza Hut, or, you know, like because the roof or whatever, and buying that and turning it into an office.
so
Now, like, and a studio also, like we shoot all our stuff here in the Burger King, and you know, just trying to
in the Game Hut.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that would be fun, or just like really fucked up. That would probably be actually a gigantic pain in the ass eventually for a lot of reasons. But I think a studio with a drive-through window would be fun.
yeah.
Like, do dumb things with that.
It reminds me of your guys' old E3 stage, the one that had the different like sets on it. where you guys
Yes.
rented that film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the police precinct station, the law office.
I still have the porn script we found in a drawer
Uh-huh.
at that place.
Oh, dude, I mean, like
How long was the script?
Oh, like,
I'm curious.
9.5 inches, baby. No, it was long. It was not
Really?
super long. Yeah,
Yeah.
really low on. Yeah, it was
Like
more
a-
like
like a-
shower
like a
scene
dialogue.
to get it going.
like a week
Okay,
after
they get it
E3,
going.
people found the movie that said script was used in.
Oh, that's right.
Was
I never did
shot,
see that. But
shot in that same fake law office where we
there was
got our
there
hands
was like
on
a prison shower looking area too
Yeah.
that was used in the film. If I remember, now that I
believe
did
that's-
see
I
that.
believe
At
that's
some
right.
point.
That room, that law office, is the same room where we got our hands on a PlayStation 4 for the first time.
Yes, and then
A lot of
Adam and
history
I,
being made in there.
yeah, Adam and I drove around with that thing for most of the next day, or when E3 was over. I drove back to San Francisco with him. We had that thing on us for a while. Like we drove down to Portillo's. So we went like south towards Anaheim to eat, and we had it with us that whole time. So we're just like hanging out at Portillo's with a fake PS4 in the car, and
Just carry it around with you everywhere for no reason.
I don't think he brought it out. I think we like set it on the car, like up on top of the car at one point or something dumb like that. But then as we were driving back up north through LA, I think he passed it off to someone else because they were like, where to go? They're like,
You had to hand off the football.
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
too important.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
that was, if I remember, that was a dummy PS4, right?
Yes.
Like there were no actual.
The lights, the
parts
light,
in there.
there was like a switch to make it light up,
Okay.
but it was not actually a legit full-on PS4 because it was very early in the process of them making those, right? I mean, it was.
Yes. Yes, indeed. All right. As much as I would like to talk about fast food on roller skates.
I mean, that was the year all our shit got stolen.
Oh God,
So
you're right. It sure
that's the thing I've come to remember about.
Man, eventful year that was.
What a
Yeah,
killer.
like
It's
that was the year we got bought, and so
Mm.
that was the year we were able to go and say, "Hey, all our shit just got stolen," and they were like, "Oh, just go rent more." And we were like, oh, "Okay, cool." Otherwise, it would have been like, all our shit got stolen, and now we're filming this on a phone or something, and I don't know.
We would have made do
Yeah, something would have happened.
one way or another.
Yeah.
All right, video games. Let's talk about them. That's what we do here. As much as I would like to just sit here and talk about Valheim,
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I was gonna
do
do my due diligence and ask about the new game, which I guess is the Outriders demo, because there aren't actually
Yeah.
a lot of real new games.
Yeah.
But you know, I will leave it up to you, Danny, because you played Outriders, and I've just been playing Valheim way too much. So what do you like more?
Like Valheim, because it's
Okay.
like, you know, it's a really, really good game.
As someone who's also played both, I'm gonna say Valheim
Yeah.
seems
Okay.
like a better game.
I was like tentatively kind of curious about Outriders, although not super. And then I saw impressions coming out from that demo, and it's like,
Yeah, I had a weird experience with it because it plays like a trick on. It played a trick on me because I really disliked the start of it, and then like I've only played the demo like through so it gives you the prologue and like the first area.
Yeah.
And by the end of the first area, I was like, oh no, this is actually doing some fun stuff. Like there's a lot of like stuff here that's not very good, like the dialogue. I've never heard the word ass said as much. It is incredible.
The writing and the style in the cutscenes and the voice work all across the board. Yes, it's like the shaky cam, and then I'm playing on PS5, and all the cutscenes run at 30.
Yeah,
and all the in-game runs at 60. So it's like you've got this like very jittery, like wartime documentary camera style, like an episode of fucking Cops, but it runs at half the frame rate of the game. So even though, you know, steady 30 is what it is, but the jarring effect of like going from 60 down to 30 for those cutscenes is just like, this looks like double shit. Like, come on, don't. Like it is disruptive. It is hard to look at sometimes. But also just like so there's a moment in that game where you're getting out of a cryopod in the very early parts of that game. And you're getting out of a cryopod in like a war-torn area that's like everything around you has gone to shit. Somehow your cryopod made it 31 years. And as you're getting out, you turn and look over your shoulder, and there's just a sign on the back wall that someone has spray painted on. Fuck you.
That's the ultimate.
Like, whoa, it's crazy here now. What happened in these 31 years? Oh my God.
It's the ultimate in-game graffiti. What else is there to do?
Fucking stupid across the board with that stuff. It is so bad.
It's kind of amazing, actually.
It is like yes.
Like you literally could have just spray painted the words in-game graffiti in that spot and it would have accomplished the same thing.
Totally. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. And so it's just like every bit of dialogue, or just the voice work and the way a lot of those lines are read really detracts from, especially you're right, Danny, the prologue is kind of abysmal. And then you get dumped into this part where it's like, all right, now choose a class. And you're like, wait, what? Okay. And it tells you, hey, here's how you're going to heal. Here's what you're going to specialize in with your abilities. Go. And then on the other end of that, when it becomes more of like hey, okay, I've got abilities and other stuff, and now I'm getting more loot and equipping it and stuff. You're like, okay, this is starting to fall into place a little bit. I don't know though. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it doesn't have the sort of open world, essence of like a Division, or like, I guess I haven't played all that much Destiny. That seems maybe more similar to this, where a lot of the levels you're in are kind of, and again, I only played the first area in the prologue. Who knows? You get all this in the demo, and then you can, buy the full game and you can keep your progress, keep going. But it feels quite instance, the whole thing. Like you're going up to an area and you can get co-op partners and play. I did the whole thing solo, so I don't know what it's like with other folks. But yeah, it's like very much you play this level, and then you can sort of replay levels if you want for higher loot, because it has this sort of world tier mechanic, which I found useful against the first boss because I was having a bit of trouble with it, where you can basically drop down the difficulty and the loot isn't as good, but you can do it on the fly, like mid-level, whenever you want. Yeah, and it's weird because the combat I've actually quite enjoyed, because it's people can fly, right? And they were working on a bunch of the Gears of War stuff, post. It's a long time since Painkiller was the sort of game you associate with them, but so it's very cover shootery, very like hold X to get to the next cover, shooting over the top. But the weapons, I've enjoyed the shooting in it, and I played as the what was it, the trickster, which I guess was like the melee character.
Like
so it's
get
like
in,
close
get out
combat
type thing,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
and the special abilities that class has are like really cool to pull off. Like you hit R1 and they do like or an L1 and does like a sort of a samurai type swipe, and it just melts every fucker that's around you.
Oh wow.
Like, they just like turn to bones and fall apart. There's like a slow down time bubble one, and there's another one where you transport behind people, and it's nifty. Like the combat, it kept me engaged the whole way through the demo, and I was like, not really sure if I keep playing this. But yeah, the opening of that game is, in a weird way, it's like, was this intentional? Were you trying to make me think it was this type of game? And then, because the tonal shift after that cryopod bit, when you're going in the truck, is like, I was laughing. I was like, the
truck stuff is just like someone sat down and said, like, let's make like a sci-fi take on the Skyrim opening. Because it's like you and another prisoner in the truck getting driven from one place to the other. And it just, and everything, instead of a dragon coming, the anomaly is coming. Like it is that scene in a lot of ways.
Just without Macho Man.
Yeah, exactly. So if someone can mod that in, that'd be good. Yeah, yes, the whole intro right up until you pick your class, I thought all that stuff was just like really uneven voice acting, but also just like the action was barely there too. It just seemed weird. I wish that they would let you. Well, I guess so. When you start a new character, now that you've done the prologue, you can skip all that shit and just go right to the class selection stuff. So I guess that's how they solve this. But you have to pick your class right then and there, and it says you will not be able to change it later. So it's this thing of like you can kind of read what they are, but you have to get into it. So like I picked Pyromancer, and it's like her, the main ability is you throw up your arms, and then a straight line of fire comes out of you, and hits an enemy and burns them. And your melee is like a good, like it's like it actually is almost the Titan
Smash.
Destiny Titan, like ground pound type thing, except with fire. And they tried to they're trying to make a very active game. They're trying to say let's make a cover shooter, but also force you to be aggressive to move forward. So everyone has a slightly different healing mechanic. So you get health back as the Pyromancer. And basically anytime anyone who has been set on fire by your abilities dies, because if they've been marked by your abilities, you will get health back when they die. And I think for other characters, it's like maybe that samurai swipe gets you health back or something like that, right?
Yeah. It also is the cancel. Did you have that as well? Where there's I think it's cancel or interrupt maybe, where there's one of your abilities is an interrupt against, I guess, higher level characters or bosses or something.
Oh,
whenever they, because they'll start to do their, there's this whole, the lore is like pretty, with all complicated with this, like here's these soldiers and these humans, and then we used to be on Earth. The altered, and then you're an outsider altered, and it's all a bit like hard to
also
explain.
the intro is that Skyrim bit, but also it's the Mass Effect Andromeda story of Earth was in trouble, so we had to fly somewhere else, and all these people are in cryopods, and we haven't thawed them all out yet. It's that.
And even like the camera stuff reminded me of playing like a game of that era, like a Mass Effect 2 style, like cinematics. It was kind of, it's weird. It has like weird Lost Planet vibes to it as well.
Yeah, at times I was like, this seems like someone sat down. Yeah, Lost Planet actually is that's a good call.
One or two. I feel like that's
two.
I only played one, but maybe two.
I would say.
Because especially because
more
the first one was
or jungly, right?
Yeah, sorry, forests.
Yeah. So I had a moment there where I was like, this feels like someone said, let's make a sci-fi Monster Hunter game. Not in any kind of gameplay stuff, but yes, Lost Planet is actually that game.
Yes. Wow. Because I didn't know that I reviewed Lost Planet 2, and at the time I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know what I was playing because I had not played a lot of Monster Hunter, and only in retrospect did it become obvious, like, oh, Monster Hunter is huge in Japan, so they tried to make that.
Right. Well, I don't want to say like this is not that from a gameplay or structural standpoint. It literally was just something about the movement and the size of some of the creatures and stuff in some areas was like they were trying to make a world that felt alive. You're kind of running up and you're like, oh, you see all these creatures running down a mountain and across a hill, and they're not necessarily hostile and all of that sort of stuff. So it's yeah, you're right. It feels old in a lot of ways. Like it doesn't, especially for a cover shooter, it doesn't feel like a particularly nuanced cover shooter. I found myself really missing I don't think they should put this in there because it's, but active reload, something else to do. I wish that game had from what I played of it. Like it just needs an additional thing to kind of keep you engaged, I guess.
They have literally put out a game with active reload in it. So
no, I know. Yeah, they did.
They did come up with something.
And it feels like a shotgun feels like a kind of a Gears of War shotgun. Like the sniper rifle feels a little bit like that sniper rifle.
Yeah,
right?
like the very snarky, reductive way I've seen people referring to this is like Gears of Destiny is the thing going around.
The UI stuff is very Destiny, I found, because it does that whole I cannot stand when you can't just use a menu normally. You have to have one of those little circles float
big mouse cursor.
Yeah, but there's I'm sure you get used to it after a while. But like even the aesthetic of some of the menus, I remember pausing it and coming back and being like, oh, that does look a little bit Destiny, but it has its own. It's weird because I feel like the setup and the world, I was interested in some of the dynamics that were at play, especially the sort of, because the prologue happens and then there's like an event that sort of moves things a bit forward, and then you come back and there's like an interesting sort of oh, things are different moment. But there's so much of the game, feels like an old thing. Like the script really is like, my wife was beside me playing Oxygen Not Included so she wasn't listening to anything, and she would laugh every time the word ass was said. I never heard the word ass like shut your ass, or I'll beat your ass, or sit your ass down. It's just like like every couple of seconds she was laughing. Yeah, just like used as a verb and an adjective like all the time. And a noun.
I think through the prologue or through that early part, there's for me the word it was the fuck word. There was like they constantly. It was just like there were just multiple cases, or maybe it felt like there were multiple cases where the only subtitle on the screen just said "fuck" at the bottom of the screen, and what was happening. It was terrible. But yeah, I don't know. It's got a big long tech tree that you get to, and maybe that'll make some of that stuff make a little more sense as you flesh it out. But it feels like a cover shooter that doesn't necessarily want you to use cover because it wants you to be aggressive, because being aggressive is how you heal. So it's the idea of just like, as long as you're in their face doing your stuff, using your abilities, you will heal up as you move forward. And so but it, at the same time, it still feels kind of sluggish and stuck in that like, I'm gonna trudge up to this thing and hit X and get behind it and pop out and good, and then the reload takes forever, and just like all that. I think that's why I want an active reload, is just because the reload time in the game seemed super long. So it just, I don't know. Like it reminds me of Defiance, that bad MMO, in a weird way, which is not from a structural standpoint, but just from that type of sci-fi.
So you're saying
this kind of sucks.
You're saying this game is made for cable?
Yeah, absolutely. This game feels very like low tier, like Canadian cable sci-fi series. For sure. This is I
think I'll hold out for the Xeno Warrior Princess MMO loot game then.
The demo is up though on everything pretty much, so it's worth, if you're half interested, it's worth checking out. It's weird. I feel like conflicted about it because there's so many things about it I didn't like, but I enjoyed the ending of the demo so much more than I enjoyed the start. That, like, to me, it's on this sort of upward trajectory that I'm like, cool. Oh, maybe it is actually, maybe it gets pretty good afterwards, or maybe if I had a bunch of friends playing, I'd enjoy. But it's it's hard to tell without dropping that extra $60.
I'll play the rest of the demo. I didn't actually finish it. I just started on it this morning and got a ways into it. And yeah, like I will probably play through the rest of that stuff, and the progress carries over, which is kind of a nice touch also. But also, I don't think they said that until after I had created the dumbest looking character I could. And I'm like, oh, well, but yeah, I don't know. It's just,
the old saying, create characters like no one is watching.
That's always the way.
How does it look? Like, especially like PS5, does it look next gen-y at all? Like, I feel like we're still in that window where any game comes out on these consoles.
It's bad.
It looks fine.
How is the next gen-ness of it?
I don't think it has a particularly strong art direction.
Yeah, when we did that video a few months ago and I watched a bunch of footage of it, I was like, it looked very generic. I started to say very muddy, but I don't mean muddy in the sense of like dull textures or something. I mean, like, literally everything was covered in mud. Like, it was a lot of dirt,
a lot of
rusted metal and like really run down, dilapidated looking stuff,
and like visual effects. Like it's quite heavy on the lighting effects and stuff like that. So you tend to not get a great sense of the broader world. Some of the times where like there's a couple of moments where it gives you that sort of like, high profile look at the world, and that's been interesting. But the encampment you find yourself in is fairly closed in, and it's not very vast. It doesn't have that sense of a big open world quite yet. But then narratively, they also kind of want to make you feel trapped. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. Maybe later it opens up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's a weird shimmer that comes off your character. Like when you turn, it's almost like you look at it and go like, oh, do they all have nano machines around them or something? It's like a weird blurry field that, like, when you move, it takes a little bit for that blur to catch up with them or something. And it looks like they are surrounded by robot bugs or something. It's weird. I don't know what they're going for there. But it just, yeah. And I don't know if you have that on the other side of the time skip there in the like once you're kind of in the first hub and all that. But the first parts of that game are just a little strange, but I think it looks sharp. if nothing else, it runs at 60. Like there didn't seem like it was doing any stuff with the triggers, but maybe that's just a demo thing. And yeah, like fairly generic, standard kind of look. Yeah, you're right about that from what we saw when Ben took that appointment a while back. Looks okay.
Yeah, I mean, it looks fine. Yeah, it's not terrible, but it's just pretty unremarkable from what I saw. Yeah. All right. Well, coming soon to a console or PC near you, like April, I think, early April.
I think it's end of the month. I think, well, unless they just pushed it back, but I want to say the PlayStation Store says March 31st.
I thought it was out now. Gosh.
I'm
thinking of it.
Was supposed to be on December, April 1st, this says. So, yeah. Catch it.
Catch it. People can fly.
Dick tits.
Warsaw's Gears of War studio. Well, they probably did. Did they do Bulletstorm stuff as well?
Yep.
Yes, that was them.
That's them.
Oh, they just did Bulletstorm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like Bulletstorm.
Yeah. It's all right. It's fine.
It's a fun game.
So
also has a certain script issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but not like this. This almost feels like they wanted to go in that direction, but didn't go far enough, or it's mired in this middle ground of like, we're just going to curse, but not really. It's not applied cursing. It's just they dumped on the swear words and said, all right, now it's edgy or something. It's I don't know.
Sprinkle some more ass in there.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
All my favorite video games got ass.
Can never have enough, I guess. You know what else you can't have enough of? It's Vikings.
Yes.
Vikings.
Yes.
Dude, that game is really something else.
I built a familial home. I'm so proud of myself. Yes.
On top of everything else, I enjoy how much it caters to different people. You know, like some people just want to build like a mansion, you know, like some super elaborate thing. My building philosophy is very much what is the minimum I can build that will count as resting, that will not choke me on smoke, and that will let me do level 3 crafting. that's the absolute minimum I'm going to build because I just want to explore and kill stuff and like skill up and all that stuff. Like there's a lot to do in there.
How many have you done a boss or two bosses?
We did Eikthyr, the first boss, on a stream. We're in a weird spot because we keep streaming it, so I keep holding off on doing stuff I find because we need to save stuff for the stream. So we did the first boss, and I spent a lot of the weekend killing trolls. I actually that game like is an emergent kind of situation generator I am finding in a way that I wasn't expecting. Like I got up at I started playing that game at like 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, and I was just like, I'm going to pop in for an hour, just run around and do some stuff. And one of the things I decided to do was sail across a river. And even on the slow ass raft, it's like, I'm talking like 60 seconds across this river. Like it's not a wide body of water, but 100% of the stuff I had on me or that I owned, like stuff was in my inventory. I didn't have like a chest back on the mainland or anything. So I was going over there with all of my stuff.
Oh no!
The biome on the other side turned out to be plains. If you're familiar,
no, Death Skeeto.
So the Death Skeeto didn't even get me the first time. It was actually a troll.
A troll or one of those little.
So it was a troll. It was a troll, and it spawned a bunch of Grey Dwarfs on me at the same time because it was nighttime, and the game really loves to do that, which sucks a lot for you when you're in a bind. But I proceeded to spend the next 5 fucking hours because my spawn point was back on the other side of the river. So I died over there with all of my stuff on my corpse and this troll camping on top of the corpse. And those boats are so fucking slow. You know what I mean? Like just sailing anywhere near that thing. Like, holy shit, dude. Like at some point, like, because every time I spawned back on the other side, I had nothing and I had to tech all the way back up the tree to make another boat again. And then he kept killing me every time I sailed over there. So there's like an increasing pile of discarded boats piling up next to this troll who was camping my corpse. Every 45 minutes that I get another boat and go over there and try again. And when I finally went over there on the time that I thought was going to be the time, I roll up on the guy, like he fades into view. And all of a sudden he just starts wailing on all my old boats with his club. Like he aggroed to my boats. I was like,
these boats.
Because I was like, at some point I'm going to get my stuff back and kill this troll, and then I'm going to have all these boats, and I'm going to leapfrog them all back across the river. I'm just going to have a fleet at my disposal. But like, it was just like the biggest fuck you in the world. Like I sailed into view, and he just starts like whacking on all my boats and killed them all. And then he sat down in the water right on top of my corpse. And like, holy shit, man. It was just like such an odyssey of, I don't know, it's just some weird situations come out of that
So
game.
what did you eventually do? Did you just like sit offshore with a bow and
So,
just shoot him for an hour? Or
I
like...
had so much to do on Saturday, and by about 1:30 in the afternoon of this, from about the time I got up, I was like, I really need to go clean the house. So I put it down and came back at like 9, 10 o'clock at night or something and played for another like 3 hours. I mean, long story, like the actual solution ended up being pretty boring. Like at one point, I was like, I bet they can't swim. I'm just going to park the boat because the boats are stationary. Like when you turn the rudder off on the boat, it just sits. It doesn't float around.
They can grab pretty far though.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, my bow skill is pretty high. I'm going to park this boat way off the coast where I can just barely hit him and chip him down with arrows. That'll work. And like, trolls can swim a lot farther than you think. Like I got like 2 arrows in, and he just like walked through the water, just like one hit, and I was dead again.
Dang.
The actual solution ended up being pretty boring and like kind of algorithmic because I realized he was aggroing onto the boat, which is why he was killing those boats when I found him that one time. So I just parked the boat way down the coast out of range, and then just kind of stealthed up behind him.
Okay.
And like every time I went over there, like the AI or whatever would like slightly change how the troll was behaving. Like a couple times he literally sat on my corpse the whole time. A couple times he would sort of wander away. I just got lucky that time, and he wandered like kind of 20 feet in one direction and faced away. And I swear to fucking God, I thought I was going to throw up as I was like creeping up behind him, stealthy through the water. It was like the shallows, so like I kept going into swim. You know, like I couldn't stay crouched the whole time because it was just deep enough. And like every time I went into swim and I was worried he was going to aggro me again, I swear to God, the tension was so high I thought I was going to vomit. Like the tensest moment I've had in a video game in like a year or something. Like it's a ridiculous game.
We had one where we died from dead mosquitoes by accident. I think I told this story last week. And I'd scouted, so we gotten our stuff back, but I'd scouted around to the other side of the mountain. It took forever to get over, and realized that there was a meadow there that was right beside mountain, dark forest, and swamp, which is where we're trying to get to next. But it was like, it would have taken forever, like maybe an hour to get around, or we could try and get across the top of the plains by the top of the mountain, by the bottom of the mountain. So the two of us loaded up all of our stuff, like stripped down. I think I took all the things for the portal or something, and we just ran across the top looking for dead mosquitoes, and we'd see them and then just fire like 40 hours until we hit one. And then, okay, keep going. So we just like slowly, it was almost like, you know, when you're trying to run through Stranglethorn Vale to get to like Booty Bay or whatever.
Yeah, when you're way too low level to be there.
Yeah, you're just I'm like trying not to pull aggro. It was like that, but for like, you know, 200 yards.
So
we were just trying.
Is one arrow enough to kill one of those things?
Yes, they have ridiculously low. They have 10 health or something.
Dude, they're so fast though, and they do so much damage.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Oh
Once you start like doing jams and sausages, and your health gets way higher when you have those.
So I found a Draugr village, and I killed a bunch of Draugrs, and they dropped a bunch of entrails. Do I understand correctly that I'm supposed to make sausages out of the Draugr entrails? Like, do I really want to be eating zombie sausages? I don't know.
Did you see how much health you get?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Stick a bit of raw meat in them.
That was another fun one. Like that Draugr village I found is like right in the middle of the meadows, weirdly enough. Have you found one of those?
One on a random island. It was I walked up to it. I was like, oh, this is like a bigger village than I've ever seen. And then suddenly like 10 green zombies start walking out. It's like, nope.
Yeah.
Out of here.
It's a lot. I tried to clear the one that I found, and there's spawners in there. They're monster spawners, you know, like you find in the woods. Except in this case, it's like a pile of bodies or whatever.
God, we've been having fun kiting the trolls into the swamp to do our dirty work for us, because they just fight like Draugrs and skeletons.
Dude,
it's just so fun.
I'm well on record about how much I love it when the monsters fight, but in this game, like they hate each other. Like they will always prioritize each other over you. So like you can just about always train a monster into some other monsters and just let them take care of each other. It's really wild. That stuff's fun, but trying to get to the spawners in that Draugr village, like I couldn't get to them because it kept spawning them so fast. I couldn't like fight my way through them and get in there and kill the spawner. And then I realized, because it was in a house, I was like, you know, these houses probably obey the same building rules as everything else in this game. So I just went around behind it and pulled my axe out and hit the back of the wall like 3 times, and it just broke a hole in the wall, and I just stuck in the back way and killed it. You know,
like you might even be able to just pull your hammer out and hit remove and pull the wall down, right?
You have to have a
workbench for that.
A workbench to do anything. You could do that. Like workbenches are cheap. You could just build one right there and delete
covered.
Yeah.
you need to cover it to take stuff down?
Oh, you might be
Yeah.
right. Yes, it might need. Yeah, it might need a.
But that's cool, right? Because that village, because those villages are genuinely really cool, and they also have like a lot of the pens already set up for if you want to breed pigs and stuff. So I guess if you cleaned it out, you could just like repair that village, and that would be a village for like you and your co-op buddies. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I almost uninstalled that game after the last time we played it because I was on like a ridiculous corpse run for like 10 minutes. So
the running is a lot.
Having not done a corpse run before, I thought I would, and so the only body I'd ever looted was Vinny's, and it pops up inventory, and I had to drag things over one at a time. So I thought that's how it all worked. So when I died, I was like, great, I'm close to this. Like there's 3 skeletons here, so I'm just gonna run over there naked and try and get my stuff back, and I'll hope for the best. I get there, there are enemies. So I've just got one guy who will not detach and go back to patrol or whatever. He's just like chasing me around for like 10 minutes. Everyone else is engaged in their own shit, so they can't come help me. And I'm just like running around. I'm like afraid to go to my corpse because I just know it's going to pop open the inventory and I'm gonna have to drag everything over. I was like, maybe I get one item real quick. But then when I did it and discovered, oh, you just hit the button once and it gives you all your shit back, I was like, oh. This was a totally solvable problem. But in that moment of like spending that 10 minutes running in a circle, I was like, fuck this. I don't want to do this anymore.
It's definitely a game of highs and lows. Like it's the kind of moments you get out of a game like that, right? You know, like sometimes it fucks you, sometimes something incredible happens.
Absolutely. Yes. There are some pretty amazing things going on in that game. I guess like probably because we haven't seen that much of it, but I'm not sure what like it's early access, but I don't know what I would necessarily do to it. Like hasn't yet been a thing that I'm like, oh, clearly they need to do this, this, and this. Like it's pretty fully featured.
Yeah, it sounds like some of the biomes in the game aren't finished. Like they're just kind of there and placeholders.
Obviously, 3 more they're adding or something on top of the
like that.
5.
I saw some people talking about like an island full of spider webs that they found.
Oh,
I think that's one of the ones that hasn't been fleshed out yet.
No, thank you.
But yeah, it doesn't feel like they've. Yeah, the game feels like it's the game, right? It's like
pretty much.
They're not going to do like a graphics overhaul, or they're not going to do like systemically. It kind of seems like it is where it is. Probably like maybe they'll add.
They could make the building of buildings like easier. Like some of the aspects of just like, all right, I need a 26-degree roof piece, and like that stuff. Like maybe could be smoother, but
cleaner.
Generally, I don't know.
We've the second boss fight is a pretty good. Like the first one's kind of not particularly hard. You can almost solo it if you get enough stuff at the start. But and like now it's easier than a troll. Like you should go back and do it now, and it's like kill that guy easy. Get your pickaxe. But the second one took us a while. It was like maybe a 20-something minute fight, and we had to yeah, we had to kind of figure it out. Like there was an element where it was like, oh, you know what? I bet this thing will work. And one of my party died and basically went back to our place. We spawned there, made a bunch of this thing, and then came over to us and doled them out, and then we used it, and it actually worked. But it's cool how like in the late game, when at least our party is noticing that it sort of incentivizes you all to work together and to specialize a little bit. Like because we had all built our houses really far away from each other, and because we kind of all need to be in the same place for the next part because there's just less swamp and there's less plains around, it sort of forced us together and to build like one place. And it's cool because it means that we're all, even when we're not all on at the same time, you know, I'll notice there's not enough stone or wood, or we need X or Y, and you kind of go off and do that. And one of our guys is like really into building, right? So like that's kind of his thing. I tried to build onto the house and accidentally collapsed an entire wall of it because he had like a load bearing wall at the bottom. I didn't know of it. So like I like how it's at the start you kind of get to play around with all the systems, and like now I'm much more interested in, you know, crafting and trying to get the boars and do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's just hearing about stuff like the load-bearing walls that's the kind of thing they need to flesh out and or explain better, because like I didn't even know that was a thing. Like I've heard about the like walls being grounded or not stuff, but I'm not really clear how it works exactly. Like there's a lot of nuance there they don't really get into.
Yeah, it's a lot of sort of trial and error.
Yeah.
Which, you know, can be fun, but also can be frustrating. At the very least with the crafting, they don't punish you for, you know, destroying stuff again and sort of rebuilding it up, which is a godsend.
Yeah, I need better weapons. Like I've got a knife and an axe, but the axe is like half for chopping wood. Like it's okay as a weapon. The knife it does damage, but it's way too short range. Like I don't know if you get like straight up swords and stuff at some point, but I've got a recipe for the stag breaker. I don't know if that thing's worth building or not.
Is that like
It's like a giant two-handed
like a deer antler thing?
mace, kind of with like a deer head on it or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
I think that has like a area of effect or something. It has like a thump when it hits the ground. I got with I have like a pokey thing. It's like a two-handed kind of
spear sort of thing.
Yeah, it's actually not one of the spears, but it looks like a spear. It's got like they're all named in Norse, so I can't ever remember what it's called.
Yeah,
it's a pokey thing.
Yes,
but I found the same thing where, especially when you get to the new areas, you really need to get like your copper knife or your bronze sword. The swords come in there. Because you start to struggle a bit. And then same thing with I've got all troll armor, which is really good for stealth, but it's not good against like the Draugrs will just like take half your health off.
Yeah, the game's something else.
It's good stuff.
Yes. What else we got going on? Jason, you want to touch on the Guilty Gear stuff a little bit more? I know you played a little bit more of that.
Yeah, actually, I miss it an awful lot. So I got to play a set with a good friend of mine in Japan, and it was buttery smooth. And the rollback netcode in that game is what is going to make its mark, or how it's going to make its mark, I think. It's certainly not going to be the lobbies. They're abysmal. And they really, really, really need to change those. There's currently not a way that you can just set up a private room for a bunch of players. I don't even know if you can spectate. You can save matches and people can view them that way, but it's not an easy or intuitive system in the least. I'm really digging the character selection so far. Everybody's been like really fun to play, like Giovanna. That new like King of Fighters looking character. I really like Kai. Soul's been fun, dude. I'm going to be really into this game, I think, and it seems to be not taking over the FGC, but like it's definitely a bright, shining star right now, especially with the inclusion of the rollback netcode, which has been great for everybody. It seems so.
Yeah, I mostly
can't wait.
Yeah, I mostly just I kind of just went into practice and just messed around with it and didn't really. I got into the lobbies and it was just, I think the one night I had a time I was just looked at the lobbies and it's just so if you haven't seen it, the lobby is like a pixel art like 2D side scrolling mansion looking thing.
You remember
and you
Tiny
walk around
Towers?
and
that mobile game? It looks a lot like that.
It's kind of like that, and you basically hit a button and then your character will pull a sword out. And that means if someone else walks up to you and they pull their sword out, then you can fight. And so, because Ark has done all these dumb different lobby systems that are all like top down big
Visual
areas,
lobbies,
like arcade machines that you walk up to and hit a button and all this stuff that's like this cutesy shit. And this is them taking that to an even more of an extreme of like, okay, now it's like this 2D side scrolling area. And where is everybody? Oh, I got to run to the right. Oh, there's a guy over here. I got to do this. It's just give people a menu and like there are things you can do via a menu once you're in there, but not as much as you want.
Not rematch.
You
can't rematch with the dude that you're playing. Like, and after the match, you like Jeff said, you have to pull out a weapon, but sometimes you'll kind of teleport to a different spot and you're not in range. So you've got to go find the dude that you were fighting and get close to him and then pull out the weapon again. And then go through a couple menus, and then you're going. This
seems like noticeably worse than the really lobbies they've done before. And I think the lobbies they've done before were just like it was hassle,
Yep.
Compared to something that's just like, oh, I don't know, give me like just let me connect to US West and say find me a match, or do like let me create a room that is called
Yeah. I mean, they absolutely
only, and then
do have like a just queue me up and I'll sit in training. And then matches will come to you, like ranked matches. But that's the only like automated like queue up thing that I've seen so far. God, I hope they change.
Weird. Is there like a subset of these games fans that like loves this stuff?
They keep doing it.
Yeah, they're all working on the kind of
the other menus have been okay. They're functional. They're kind of a pain in the ass. but a lot of them still have the menus that you can use to navigate around. This seems like it's lacking that.
Yeah, they've made some choices here, but the game seems cool.
Yeah.
Jason, does it seem like that they are? I like I said, I didn't like dig too deep into it. I just kind of messed around with it and was like, this seems cool. These characters, these seem fun and new, and it looks, God, it's such a great looking game.
Right.
What's your impression of it in terms of like, do you think this will be like more accessible? Because like Guilty Gear can be a little, it can be kind of a tough mountain to climb, I think, for people if they don't play a lot of other games like this already. Do you think that this is like pretty accessible?
I don't think that that's what they're going for this time. You look at games like Grand Blue Versus and stuff, and you've got like simplified inputs. There's nothing like that. They've made some of the Gatling motions, which is like chain combos. Those are a little different, a little harder to do because you can't go from like light to medium or whatever. That's and it's good that they're not aiming for like dumbing down too much, because I think there was a little bit of backlash from like Grand Versus or Grand Blue Versus that people just really didn't like that. Like, for the longevity of the game, they want it to be like at a certain level of intricacy and hard to do. Some people really like that, and I don't think this is as bad as like a Accident Core Plus R or anything like that. As far as like execution is concerned, I think it's a little bit easier. So in that terms, I think it's a little more accessible. I'm able to wrap my head around it a lot better than I have past Guilty Gear games. So I guess I'm saying something.
Yeah, I think that's been the thing for me, is like the past handful of Guilty Gear games, especially like these last couple, have been like, this is an amazing looking video game, and the deeper I get into it, it's just like there's open another book and they're like, oh, by the way, over here, exactly. Here's 9 more cancels for you to learn. I'm like, fuck this. And I eventually fall off it. Whereas like Grand Blue and Dragon Ball Fighters, I think even did a really good job of just like finding a way to like
out.
you can match stuff out, but like that's only gonna get you so far, right? Or like the Persona fighters were really good at just like doing that auto combo thing, but still having like a decent amount of depth to them and stuff. So I guess it's natural that they keep Guilty Gear kind of a little bit further in that direction, because that's just who it's probably going to attract to begin with. And I wonder how it'll do.
I think they know their audience, and that's who they're catering to.
If they knew their audience, they wouldn't put the fucking lobbies in it. But yes, you're right.
You're right.
Guilty Gear is the oldest one of their franchises, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. As far as fighting games is concerned.
Is there much in the way of single player stuff like story mode or?
Yeah, there's going to be a fully fleshed out story mode. There's arcade and survival modes and
mission mode type stuff, and
most
of that wasn't in the beta, so
right. But judging by the past games, they really go out with their story modes. In fact, you can just like hit play and watch all of the story stuff, and then not have to interact with it. So you watch it just like anime.
Cool, like Dead or Alive, then.
Yes, exactly.
Of course.
The other thing I will say that you do a lot of damage in that game. Holy shit! You're really limited to like maybe 2 to 3 like encounters, as far as like in a match, and it can go so quick. Like you make a couple of mistakes and you're donezo. So I wouldn't be surprised if things go to like 3 out of 5 as opposed to 2 out of 3. As far as because things go so fast, and I don't know if that'll balance out. We'll see. Either way, I'm ready. I want to play.
Remind me, is Guilty Gear the one with all the characters that are kind of like 80s, like glam rock
metal
influenced?
Yeah, definitely.
And they're still going with that?
Yep. They're still, the music's getting a little bit cheesier, but
good.
It's not as good as like some of Exerd's music. I like Exerd's music a lot.
The smell of the game is it's a powerful anthem.
It's got a musk to it.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Good. Heady bouquet. Speaking of heady bouquets, no, that doesn't work at all. Last game before we go to break. Danny, it sounds like you got a chance to play Maquette a little bit. That's out on PlayStation Plus today.
Yeah, very briefly. So
I'm
I'll keep it
curious
short.
about that.
Yeah,
I
it's
wanna
so
check
it's
that out
on.
too.
I think it's $20 otherwise, but it's part of PlayStation Plus. It's one of 4 games. I think they also have was a Final Fantasy VII remake or the PS4 version. of that.
PS4 only. Yes.
Yeah, this and one or two other ones that aren't coming to mind. But yeah, it's I guess it did the trailer rounds back at E3. I think maybe it's the game where there's sort of like an internal level. There's like the level you're in, and then there's like a maquette of it in the middle. And when you move things within that, they also happen in the big world. So if you move a box on the sort of diorama of the level in front of you, there's a big, huge version of that box being moved around behind you.
And you see that like in the skybox, kind of like
if you angle
cool.
yourself the right way,
Interesting.
you can see it. And also you can like you drop the box in the maquette or in the little diorama. Is that what a maquette is? I've
always heard a maquette in like as like a little statuette kind of thing,
right?
Figurine sort of thing. So maybe I don't know.
Yeah, like an animation thing, right? Or one of those little whatever. Anyway, the diorama is there, and if you drop things, they will fall at the pace they would given they were big. So you'll see them fall and then like doom hit the ground and the ground will shake. So they have a good heft to them. I'm very early in, like it only launched this morning. It's like 50 minutes maybe. It's a bit more story focused than I thought. It's basically sort of a study of a relationship,
romance kind of thing.
Like almost looking through the art book that this couple sort of drew together over the course of their relationship. There's voice acting in it. There's licensed music in it.
The two things that I always remember about this game are it looks an awful lot like The Witness, and it's got Bryce Dallas Howard in it.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah, she's one of the two leads.
Well, the voice acting was like, I was surprised at how good it was.
So it's
like an indie game, and I was like, oh, this is really good.
Like I saw her name on it, and then I immediately saw that it was Annapurna, and I was like, oh, of course they could get her. Like they are very much about like very like high quality story driven stuff with like connections in Hollywood and stuff, right?
When she was finished directing one of the Mandalorian episodes, she came over and did this. So it's interesting. I'm interesting puzzle design. I feel like I'm very much in the ramp into explaining what this game is like or what this game is to the player. But I mean, if you've got PS Plus, no excuse not to go check it out. The other only game I would compare it to is, did any of you play Superliminal, which was that Steam game? It came out last year. It was the one where it was all about perspective, right?
Yes.
It's I thought that it would be more like that. It's once you get into it, it's its own sort of beast. It's more slow paced. The puzzles are slower or take a bit more time than that. It's less sort of hectic, I guess. But it's cool. It looks gorgeous too. The level design's beautiful, very vivid.
Sounds very pleasant.
Yeah, it is. It's a very chill game, I think.
Great.
I believe Vinny is taking a look at the PC version of that right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm gonna check some of that out on PS5 as well. All right, I think that does it for games. Unless anybody's got anything else you want to talk about, rock and roll racing some more.
It's still good.
Talk about Valheim some more.
Okay, well, that too.
Lost Vikings 2. Go Valheim.
I watched some of those videos that Drew and the folks over there made. They're fun. Apparently they had some trouble getting all those dudes to film their own green screen interviews, basically, because this was all during COVID.
Oh, sure.
Okay, yeah.
So considering that, especially, they've done
we're going to ship you a green bed sheet. We need you to hang it behind yourself as flat and evenly lit as possible.
Yeah. It's
also a pop filter. Here you go.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Yes, for sure.
No better man for it.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. If anybody can get things done, it's True Scanlon. All right, that does it for games. We are going to take a quick break and come back with some news. We'll see you on the other side.
This episode is sponsored in part by Blue Chew. Blue Chew is making waves and bringing more confidence to the bedroom. For when it's time to bone, time to bone down, time to get it going, and maybe you need a little more confidence. Maybe you need something like a Blue Chew. Blue Chew is a unique online service that will deliver the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in a chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. These tablets combat all forms of ED. It's erectile dysfunctional. It's not beat around the bush. I mean, let's beat around the bush. But look, let's just come out and say it. There's no need to be ashamed. It's time to talk about getting it on, with the sex, about gaining extra confidence for when it's time to perform. Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so you don't have to go visit a doctor, have some awkward conversation about like, my junk don't work. No, you don't have to wait in line at the pharmacy. It will ship right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. What you do, you go to bluechew.com, you consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days, and it's all done online. These are licensed medical providers that work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription, and it's chewable. You know. So if you don't like swallowing pills, hey, don't swallow. Chew it. And these pills have sildenafil and tadalafil. Chewable. Not pills. Did I say pills? I didn't say pills. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, and they prepare and ship direct, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And there's a special deal now going on. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code Bombcast at checkout. Just pay the $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com. That's BLUECHEW.com. Promo code Bombcast to receive your first month for free. And thanks, Blue Chew, for sponsoring the podcast. Debt. Let's talk about it. You in debt? Are you? You got that credit card out there that's just like you're looking at it going, hey, boy. Time to confront that debt with Upstart, because Upstart can help you face it and potentially, finally, for realsies, pay it off. Upstart is the fast and easy way to get a personal loan to pay off all your debt, and you do it all online. Whatever you're doing, you're paying off credit cards, consolidating some high-interest debt, funding some personal expensive. Over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple fixed monthly payment. Upstart works to find smarter rates with trusted partners, and they assess more than just your credit score. For just 5 minutes, you can get a rate check and see your rate up front for loans from up to $1,000 to $50,000. Same day approval may happen, and you can receive funds as fast as 1 business day. So if debt is taking over your life, see if you can get a fresh start with Upstart. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/bombcast. That's upstart.com/bombcast. Don't forget to use that URL to let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/bombcast.
Breaking news this week to start the news segment. Got a couple stories that popped off as we were setting up for this podcast, so we haven't had a lot of time to absorb them yet, but let's start at the start with the new stuff here. Mediatonic, makers of Fall Guys, bought by Epic.
Colt Seavers himself, bought by Fall Guys?
That's right.
Unreal.
Wow.
Who had Epic? What else? Who else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who else.
Seemed like an Embracer Group sort of move, but
sure, I guess I could see that. I don't know. I mean, this feels like This feels. Oh my god, I'm so busy on their little fact that they put up for entitled "Mediatonic joins the Epic Games family" because there's all these little floating Fall Guys icons on it that you can play with your mouse.
Ooh.
Like, chase them right around the web browser. I highly recommend it. Yeah, I don't know. This feels very much like in the wake of Psionic's Rocket League, like Epic trying to consolidate. Totally. I mean, this is not technically free to play yet, although I feel like the most prominent question on this little fact they put up is free to play, and the answer is nothing to announce right now. But,
well, remember, like that game was a PlayStation Plus game. I mean, like Rocket League, that game gained most of its footing by being a PlayStation Plus game that really, really took off.
Right.
So you're right. It definitely fits in that mold in a lot of ways. And I'm trying to think, I guess I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know enough about business to know what the Epic strategy is around that stuff. Is it just to get people into the Epic Games ecosystem to help build their store? Because they're still doing, like, remember that when they first started doing, like, hey, we're doing a free game of the week or month or whatever, like that stuff, they were like, we'll do this for a little while, 6 months, and like they're still doing it.
Not only are they still doing it, but at times, I mean, I think this fluctuates, but at times, like, the rate that they are pumping free games out has gone way up. Like, during holidays, it'll be like one a day, or it'll be like, oh, now there's 2 this week. Like, they have put out dozens and dozens of free games on that thing at this point. Yeah, I would assume that you were totally right, that this is absolutely going to become a free-to-play product at some point, and it's just going to be another vector for getting people to sign up for Epic accounts, right?
And also, like, monetizing the hell out of skins and stuff like that. Yeah, like Rocket League certainly does that as well. So yeah, it's that's probably it, right? It's just like, hey, we've got to keep growing the Epic Store because that helps us build a better store ecosystem that helps all these other games sell better. Because it still seems like the case. And you know, I think Hades, Danny, you might know the exact quote on this even, but like when Hades went to Steam, didn't it suddenly like Hades was the game that launched alongside the Epic Game Store, and then when that deal was up and they eventually came to Steam, wasn't it just like, oh, we beat our Epic sales like that?
Well, I wouldn't want to speak for the team, but I definitely know that it had.
I thought that. I think they've said that publicly. I thought that was something that was in your thing, but I don't know for sure.
It was definitely like, yeah, because it's such a walled garden still, Epic Game Store, right? Like, people are there for some specific games. They're there all day for Fortnite, but it's still like a smaller little thing. Maybe it's bigger now, but yeah, for sure they had that. That was definitely the case. You get access. It's like coming to the party, you know, like suddenly everyone's looking at you.
I haven't checked the Epic Games Store Trello board in a while, come to think of it.
Every time I look at it, it's just like more bug fixes and localization change, and like like further off shopping cart. You know, there's like things that you look at and go like, how does that happen? It just seems weird that they like
too busy buying that mall. That, you know, that do the real.
I guess so.
That's right. That's right. There's language in here about what is happening to the live game as it stands. They say, you know, Fall Guys will remain purchasable on Steam and PlayStation. We are still planning to bring Fall Guys to Nintendo Switch and Xbox. They actually name check Fortnite and Rocket League right here in this answer. Fortnite and Rocket League already have tons of features we'd love to bring to Fall Guys: account systems, crossplay, squads versus squads modes. We're going to work hard on bringing more of these features to Fall Guys too. So,
they're straight up saying Fall Guys. Oh, as well.
TOO.
Got it. Okay.
Fall Guys as well.
Yeah. So that's breaking news. Like, that seemed to me, the story of Fall Guys seems like a small game that really took off, and then on the development end, it just seemed a little funky. Or like as the game grew, like it didn't seem like so like on Steam you still get like random names because there was some issue there where people were just, you know, like people do, they fill their Steam name with a bunch of garbage for fun Destiny screenshots or whatever. But in Fall Guys, that was creating situations where you would have really gigantic names, or they'd be full of curse words in a game that they want to be for children and all this other stuff. And so they eventually just said like, fuck it, we're gonna just randomly generate names and that's all you can use. It seems like a very like, we've just got to solve this today. We've just got to solve this problem and move on. We can't build an account system right now. We just can't do it. Like, some aspects of that game feel like they didn't necessarily grow at the rate that of popularity that game seems to have achieved. So I imagine
like the cart got ahead of them.
Yeah. And you know, getting the resources of an Epic behind them probably makes it a lot easier for them to go like, okay, all right, now we are going to be putting a ton of resources on this and solving all of these issues.
Yeah, because I don't know how small or inexperienced Mediatonic was at the beginning, but like I can't imagine dealing with that specific. Granted, it's like an amazing problem to have, right? But we're on like the 6-month cadence now of some game just like completely blowing up out of any proportion to expectations. Like, it was Among Us like this time last year, and then Fall Guys kind of in the fall. And like now Valheim, it's Valheim, you know, like all these little teams are just like striking gold, you know, and like I can't imagine dealing with like Fall Guys had a lot of server problems, right? Like, wasn't it like super unstable for
at launch? It was really rough. They eventually So that's like a 40-player game, I think is what it is.
I think that's right. Yeah.
They eventually did like how PUBG would do like the custom game stuff, but they rolled it out like to select individuals that were streaming and that sort of stuff because they're like, well, you need to have 100 players, so you better have 100 viewers that own the game and want to play. So we're not just going to give this to anybody. Fall Guys is in that lane where like they have given that access to some people, but those people need to be able to pull together 40 players because I don't think you can even start it with 39, which seems like a weird one. I'm not 100% sure on that because I have not played Fall Guys in a long time, but yeah, I don't know. It's that is one of those ones like where that game got huge and popular, and I don't think I've played it since launch week because it just felt so bad. The movement and the movement. I mean, that game is all movement, right? So there's not much like it's a really cool idea and a lot of neat levels, and I like the look of it, but just the way the jump feels to just like the way you're just, I don't know if it's a netcode thing or what, but it just feels bad to me. So I would love to see them overhaul all of that stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, that goes to the question of whether that is actually intentional or not. Like maybe they want it to be as mushy and clumsy as it is because it creates a lot of hilarity when you miss that jump. But I agree. But like I had fun with it for a week or two in spite of that stuff. But yes, it does. The lack of precision in those controls gets old after a while.
And like I like Gang Beasts a lot, and like this feels like it is like a sub Gang Beasts. Like Gang Beasts does that exactly what you're saying really, really well. Of just like these are very deliberately clumsy controls. Yeah, that feel like you're just on the verge of being in control as opposed to being out of control, and that's part of what makes it fun. Fall Guys feels like it's on the wrong end of the stick there, where it's just like, this doesn't feel like I have enough options or whatever it is, but just it doesn't. I really don't like the way that game feels. Never did. So I'd love to see them make some changes there, but. Obviously, that game seems to be doing fine as it is. So what the fuck do I know?
Yeah, I guess. Like I don't know what the numbers are like lately, but
yeah, you'd love to be able to.
Someone in chat had said that it was not in the top 100 Steam games anymore. But remember that's a game that they charged money for there, as opposed to it being a PlayStation Plus game. So I bet that player base is primarily on PlayStation, and it's probably doing just fine.
Yeah,
that could be the type of thing though. After 6 months, where you start to see that curve, right, and then you're like, oh, we need a little bit of help. I remember I interviewed them, some of the folks, the creative director and a couple of other folks over at Mediatonic about 6 months ago for the No Clip podcast. And the thing that struck me was just how young they are. Like, not to be disparaging of their experience or anything, but they definitely seem like a young, like skewing mid-20s sort of group of developers who had really hit gold with a fantastic idea, love of Takeshi's Castle and a fun art style, and it just took off. But what was funny is, like, I remember doing research about Mediatonic before then and seeing like, what did they do here? And this was like almost their first or one of their first in-house projects, because they had been doing like, they did that Gears Pop game for Microsoft.
No way.
And remember Devolver did a retail version of Hatoful Boyfriend a few years back? That was
them. They did like the HD, yeah.
So they've done like they were just a studio that had like, it's one of those Moby Games pages where it just goes on forever because they've been working partnerships and all that on all these other games. So it makes sense, right? They've never run a live game before. They probably never ran their own project at any sort of scale, or certainly not at that scale. That like, it makes sense. Acquisition wise, they seem to employ a decent amount of people as well. As the other thing, it's not a small indie studio. I think it's.
I mean, like they've, like if they've touched that many games over the years, and they've probably got some financial backing as well to help with that, even before Epic.
Offices too. I think maybe they had it international. Like maybe they had one in Madrid or something as well.
So it's not like 6 people in a garage. It's like, hey, this is an operation, but they found themselves into like, oh, suddenly we've made one of the biggest games of the pandemic. There's your awards show.
Boy,
games of the pandemic.
Yeah, so I wonder if structurally, there's probably lots of ways that a bit more guidance from, Epic are one of the most experienced developers in the world, even pre-Fortnite, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like they've run multiple long-running series for a long time. So yeah,
Jazz Jackrabbit. Yes,
exactly. That's Thanks
that's
for
the one.
I should talk around it, Brad, but
That's the one. Just skimming this little fact they put up here. I think that's all the relevant information, but I mean, that free to play question seems pretty pointed. So
That
stay
makes
tuned.
sense.
It's a natural fit for that game. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's they could probably make more money on the cosmetics than
for
selling
sure.
the game. So and like a ton of brands wanted to cross over with them when that game got big. So it's just yeah, totally.
Yeah, but it is interesting timing because they point out right in here that they are in the process of bringing that game to 2 new audiences on the Switch and Xbox. Like they were about to go sell that game for money to a bunch of new people, and then maybe not so far down the line turn around and whatever. I mean, you give people currency,
Yeah.
give them a bunch of freebies, whatever. That's
Here you
manageable.
go. We'll let you. This Fortnite character is now playable in Fall Guys.
You mean Ryu?
Ryu.
Yes,
yeah,
the famous
Fortnite's Ryu.
the famous Fortnite character.
Yeah, it's about time they put a wizard in the game.
Well, speaking of Fortnite characters, they announced a new Aliens game this morning.
Colonial Marines 2. Let's go.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, this dropped like as we were setting up for this podcast, so I didn't really have a lot of time to look at it. But Aliens Fireteam is a co-op. Sounds like kind of a PvE shooter coming from Cold Iron Studios. Sounds like it's class-based. It's coming out this summer. 11 types of xenomorphs.
11.
That's a lot of xenomorphs.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's your Predalien, Praetorian,
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Alien. Remember Alien vs Predator multiplayer? They had all those.
Oh God. Yeah.
Which one? I feel like possibly of any game franchise in history, there's none harder to tell which game you're talking about than Alien vs Predator because there have been so fucking many of them, and they're all so different from so many different publishers on so many different platforms.
And they all
consoles,
seem to have like a different audience of people who like revere them in specific ways.
It's like the I don't know. I'm making numbers up here. The 2011 Alien vs Predator has a very devoted audience that's separate from the 2008 Alien vs Predator.
The Jaguar AVP audience is they are serious. They're out there.
Yes.
They'll get you. Watch out for them.
Is that so that's weird. That's 2 of these sort of what do we call them? Asymmetrical multiplayer games. Because Back 4 Blood is also getting made somewhere in
Right.
California.
Yes.
Are they?
So is this actually asymmetrical multiplayer and not like a Left 4 Dead style?
I was under the it says multiplayer third-person shooter. I'm not clear if there's any playing as an alien stuff involved or not. It looks. I mean, it is Aliens, obviously. Like it's the James Cameron take on Alien, of course, because that's what all the video games are. But
when you die, does it say "Game Over, man"?
Can only hope. Anyway, that's listed for summer. There's like a Steam store page up now that says summer 2021. So coming pretty soon.
Beta probably, I imagine, for something like that. Maybe?
Almost certainly.
Yeah, some kind of like. What if you pre-ordered it and you got to play it?
Unlock Ripley.
Yeah, sure. And then I'll just give that away, man. You gotta save that, sell it for $20 or something.
You mean to tell me they're gonna let people play a video game before it's done?
It's the newest, latest. We're kicking the tires on this whole concept here. So this is probably like a soft GTFO, right? This is like GTFO, but like for people that might want to finish the level sometimes. Yeah,
sure. God, man, GTFO is so wild. What a weird game. I think is nuts. This sucks. Japan studio, the Sony stalwart of Japanese game developments is effectively being closed down. Like they kind of massaged the messaging a little bit to say that Asobi Studio, the developer of Astro's Playroom and the Astrobot Rescue Mission for PlayStation VR, is going to stay open. In fact, the messaging is like, we are reorganizing Japan Studio around Asobi Studio. But the reporting out of Japan is that the vast majority, according to Video Games Chronicle, of Japan Studios developers have been laid off. And that's kind of that, I guess. And
I think the thing we discovered, we were talking about this on the hotspot last week, was, when you get into it, just the number of external developers that worked on those games.
Yeah.
The Japan Studio was the kind of a blanket term for a lot of games that got developed elsewhere. Right. Like they were kind of managing the managing external partners for working on those games.
It's like a very small. It's like dozens of games since the very beginning of the PlayStation brand, and it's like a tiny minority of them that were only made by quote unquote Japan studio. Almost all of them have some kind of co-developer listed, but still, like that logo has been on like countless of the like there's a Japan studio logo on the front of Bloodborne,
Right. Yeah.
And Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah.
Like, basically the bookends of the PlayStation, canon or whatever, like that.
Jumping Flash,
man.
Goes all the way back to launch.
Yeah, like they
Gravity
were
Rush
involved.
was, I think one of the handful that they did on their own, right? Ape Escape and stuff like that. But
Ape Escape,
development has changed, and Sony does that type of work worldwide now, where like, hey, we've got people here that manage external partners and all that sort of stuff. So they probably just don't need those people to exclusively be in Japan. They just need a worldwide teams that are focusing on that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so reading up on this development made me realize how much of a reorg and like a change of regime this PlayStation Studios thing must have been. Like, it seems like it was much more than just a rebranding of their internal development. Like, it was very much a kind of like movement of the power center of.
When you put Jim Ryan in charge and all that, is like, yes, definitely they have made changes.
Yes. The Video Games Chronicle story basically says that there was kind of the core disagreement was that the management of Japan Studio wanted to make kind of Japan first games that would also have global appeal. This sounds like really splitting hairs, and the global management wanted them to make games with global appeal that might also sell in Japan. Like, it sounds like a minor distinction, but I think,
Dead Rising 1 and Dead Rising 4.
Okay, sure. That's not the worst way to look at it. Yeah.
No, that is maybe the worst way to look at it.
Well, I mean, yeah. It's not an ideal outcome, but I don't know, man. Like, quirky is just the kind of the word that comes to mind for a lot of the stuff that came out of that studio, and it's sad to lose that out of such a major, developer / platform holder.
Yeah, but they were never going to make that style of stuff again, and a lot of that work came from those external teams. That was Nanansha and some, what Sugar and Rockets or whatever. Like, it was just like all those other teams made a lot of really crazy, quirky stuff, and Japan Studio shepherded it and made sure it got through and got out. But that's just not where that doesn't seem like where the video game business is anymore, and that's sad in a lot of ways. But also, like, what has Japan Studio even done late? I guess like Bloodborne. Like, at some point, like
Gravity Rush.
That's one of the better examples of like, hey, here's a thing with global appeal, Bloodborne. And then you've got Gravity Rush, a game that certainly has its fans, but I would put that in the category of, like, if they were going to try to make games that were Japan first, but hopefully had a global appeal, maybe you end up with more Gravity Rushes, and that's not going to move needles the way that they are trying to move needles. So I don't know.
Yes,
like, I get it. It's stupid, but like, I look at it and go like,
I get it. Yes. From a raw ass business standpoint, you're not wrong. But I guess that studio had been losing some staff in the last year or two already. That was kind of not super well known. Like the producer of Bloodborne left very recently. Last year, several of the head Gravity Rush developers left to start their own studio. So, like, those developers hopefully will get out there and keep doing their thing. But
I wonder how many people it was, because even Asobi's not that big. Like, Asobi's like, I think it's like 20 to 30 folks or something.
Yeah, that would make sense, because both of those Astro games are like bite size. They're not huge projects by any means. This inspired me to go out and hunt down some of the hardware sales numbers, which are not always like the easiest to come by. But I've got VG Charts kind of life to date platform rankings in front of me, which hopefully is about as
the most accurate of numbers.
I hope. I mean, best I can come up with. I don't know.
Yeah,
with a Z.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh. I mean, like, other than that, it's like, here's a story from 2 years ago that's got some numbers on it. It's hard to say.
That's Z for Zacurate.
Yes, I guess so. But I mean, this was corroborated by stories I saw elsewhere that the PS4 has yet to outsell the PS3 in Japan, and the PS3 sold about half what the PS2 sold. Like, the PlayStation as an institution in Japan is not what it used to be. So, like,
Monster Hunter was a portable only franchise for a lot of that period of time, right? I mean, they, like, they didn't necessarily even put some of the biggest games in Japan on Sony platforms on the PlayStation free. So
True.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. That's also, that thing was massive. I don't know, it's super expensive. Like there's a lot of reasons for that. I'd be curious to see how PS5 does over there in a world where the Switch is obviously fucking massive.
Yeah, like the Switch outsold the PS4 in like no time in Japan.
Yeah,
that is the console, quote unquote, that matters over there.
Yeah, and that's why you're seeing that's probably a big part of why you're seeing a game like Apex on Switch, is because Apex Legends somehow gained a foothold in Japan in a way that you don't hear about first-person shooters doing in a lot of cases. And I bet that Switch version will be fucking pretty good and pretty big over there. Yeah, we'll see.
Yep. So anyway, pour one out. Will we ever see anything with Ape Escape on it or in it again?
Ah, damn it.
In any form?
Never gonna happen.
Yeah, Loco Roco. No more Patapon.
Astro's Playroom 2 will have another ape in it. Yeah,
that's the one thing. I don't know what you would do with like you know, the messaging was very much around like, oh, the acclaimed developer of Astro's Playroom, because that's the one part that they are keeping alive. But like, I don't know what a follow up to that would be.
Every time they made one, it's surprised me with how good it's been.
Like, for sure. Yeah. I mean, specifically, like the nostalgia aspect of Astro's Playroom, like they kind of mined that out. Yeah. Like there's kind of everything in there. So like that would have to be something pretty different. They couldn't just go back to that well again, I don't think.
Yeah,
well, they'll have new VR hardware at some point here, and they will want to make a Astro game that takes advantage of whatever the new controllers are or whatever else. So that's probably their next thing, right?
Yes, I would believe that. Kind of a grip of Sony news this week. We watched that State of Play live last week. There were exactly 2 pieces of real full-on news in that thing. They announced Sifu from Slow Clap, the developer of Absolver.
Looks neat.
Yeah,
looks really good.
That game looks real good. Pretty eye-catching stuff. Pretty like high concept melee from the looks of things. That's how Absolver was. Yep. Most everything else was like games that they have shown in some form or another, kind of getting dates or more information or whatever. Then they announced this Final Fantasy VII remake intergrade at the end, which has graphics.
Finally,
graphics on PlayStation 5.
Yeah, someone needed to bring the graphics.
Man,
integrated graphics.
Yeah,
seriously. I'll be honest, I actually bounced off of Final Fantasy VII Remake because of the frame rate. I couldn't deal with it. And this is extremely enticing to me. Like, I can't wait to actually play this now.
Yeah, but for sure.
Oh, man.
That's cool.
Well, you're in luck. If you paid money for the PlayStation 4 version of Final Fantasy VII Remake, you're getting this upgrade for free.
Get the PS Plus version and then just get the upgrade for free.
You've got bad news for you. Yes, that game is on PS Plus this month, but you cannot get the free PS5 upgrade with that version.
Oh,
I wonder what that means for people that redeem the PS4 PS Plus version.
You can still buy those games.
Still be able to buy Intergrade on PS5 separately down the line if you wanted to, I guess.
You can buy the version you have on PS Plus as well, can't you? You go to
I don't think there's a way to do. Once you redeem it, if you want to buy the exact same product, I don't think there's a way to do it unless you let your PS Plus lapse and buy it in that window.
They will almost certainly have some sort of store. You know, the nice flexible PlayStation store, really always ready to accommodate.
Very
edge
upfront
cases.
You know, they have the you do a new release. So like the new release section is just full of games that aren't out yet. So then you go, no, it's recently released. And I did that and it still had 3 games that weren't out until April. I was like, what? It's bad enough trying to navigate that thing, but even when you're like playing by the rules, it seems to just be like, you want to play this.
It's bad. There was also like the case of like, as soon as that Guilty Gear beta ended and I uninstalled it, the icon in my library changed to the full game as if I owned it, but I really only owned that beta. It's like that problem
you can launch from that icon.
Well, I could re-download the beta, or I could go to the store and buy the other version, but it still shows in my library as the full game because that was a problem back at launch. You know,
sorry, I thought you were talking about a different problem where deleted games still stay on your kind of cross media bar.
No, I have a Hitman 2 icon all the way to the left with no graphics on it, just 4 little boxes, and it just
So apparently, rebuilding your database will get rid of that. The more you know.
Good to know.
Yes. Maintenance on your video game console.
Oh, man.
I have had to do so much of that. Like,
don't get me started. Holy fucking shit! The hoops I jumped through to try to make rest mode work again.
Well,
Like,
even
oh
on
my
Xbox,
God.
like this morning, I was so now I have 3 hard drives attached to this Xbox Series X because I have the external storage card. So there's the internal drive. I have the external 1 terabyte official add-on,
Right.
And then I have a USB drive hooked up as well. And now I've got enough. Like it just, and I had to basically. So Apex Legends wanted to download an update that was about 40 gigs, and it was like, you don't have enough room on this external storage card where the game is located. You need to move 60 gigs off of this thing. Like, okay, I guess I got to move stuff back to that external drive. I thought maybe I would not have to use that 2 terabyte external anymore, but I do, and it's just like, it's just the inflexibility of updates and all that other stuff are still just really crazy. More so on PlayStation than Xbox, but I have had some Xbox issues along those lines as well, even with a maximum amount of Xbox Series X ready storage. It makes me think that this firmware update for PS5, when they finally allow you to put those M2 drives in it, is actually not going to solve the problem. It's just going
we'll see.
Push the problem out a little bit. And
I'll jump ahead to that real quick here as we finish up the state of play stuff. But Bloomberg out of Japan reported that firmware update is as of right now planned to release this summer. They are in the preparation stages for putting out that feature to allow you to install M.2 drives and expand the internal storage of the PS5. Apparently, that firmware update will also come with an increased number of fan profiles for the PS5, so the fans can spin faster and dissipate more heat, which makes me wonder. So, like, high-speed, like PCIe 4 NVMe drives get very hot. Like, they are known to be extremely hot devices, and I do wonder if that has anything to do with this increased cooling profile that they are going to patch in alongside it, because that is going to be some more thermal dissipation in there that's going to have to be accounted for.
It made me wonder if they were encountering heat issues in some situations. So, like, it's been like a little bit of a buggy launch here and there. Some games just shutting down at random. It's been smooth lately. Like, okay, this is weird. Do you think any of your rest mode issues could have been caused by that system overheating and just being weird?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay.
The most of the thought around the rest mode problems have to do with the USB ports, using USB ports, specifically the rear ones in different ways. I don't want to speculate too much because nobody has good information, but like there are teardowns out there where people use the little, thermometers and thermal imaging and stuff to kind of see how it's dissipating heat. And like the general consensus is the cooling in the PS5 is not amazing. So this could have something to do with that.
Is there any information on how difficult it might be for someone at home to get the thing open to stick the M2 drive in?
They showed that actually when they did that teardown, the official one back before launch.
Prior to launch, yeah.
So those top panels like literally just kind of slide off. I haven't done it. I haven't done it, but it seems like they're very easy to take off. And then I think it's like one panel you have to unscrew
to
get it in there. I don't think the installation will be that bad for anybody who did a PS4 already. I think the much bigger problem is that it's going to be a very small subset of drives that are on the market that you can actually use to do this. And they really need to get in front of the messaging on that and say, do not buy a drive that is not on this list that we are shoving right in your face right now, because it just won't work. And I don't know how that's going to go.
These things are pricey too.
Yeah, very pricey. But like any off-the-shelf USB drive would work on the PS4. And I feel like almost inevitably people are going to buy drives that are not compatible with this thing and be very mad when they go through.
People are going to be selling them all over.
Go through all that effort to install it and then find that it doesn't work because it's not fast enough. So, say what you want about that Microsoft solution of making their own cards. Like,
at least the
upside of that thing is you buy the one thing that works and it works, and that's it. So, we will see how that stuff goes. But pretty much it out of the state of play stuff. I mean, guys
are going to talk about the newest Battle Royale game?
Oh, well, that's the thing. This wasn't actually in the state of play, but it dropped at the same time and immediately overshadowed anything in the state of play.
I forgot the state of play happened because this happened right afterwards and just like blew away all memory of whatever happened there.
I'm just going to quote from a title in this trailer that they put out.
This is great because I saw Jeff's tweet and I have intentionally not looked up any news on this. So I thought he was making it up.
I'm looking at this frame right now in this trailer. Final Fantasy VII Battle Royale. Woo! We're just getting closer and closer to the eventual future where 100% of the games that Square puts out are Final Fantasy VII games. We're almost there.
I mean, it worked for them last time.
I know. We're getting closer and closer. It was not even the only mobile Final Fantasy VII game they announced at this time.
Wait till you see what the PS5 version of Avengers has in it.
Oh, boy. That's good. I don't know, man. Like, do you want to play a battle royale where you can summon Bahamut and wear a chocobo suit? Because they're making that.
Yes.
Okay, I got the good news. Second question: do you want to play a battle royale exclusively on a phone?
No, but a lot of people do.
Yeah, I don't. I just don't get it.
Like there are parts of the world where that is like PUBG Mobile. Like they're releasing a new PUBG new stage. Like they're redoing PUBG Mobile.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's been banned in several countries because it's been taking away from productivity or something.
Yeah,
so like it's new Dragon Quest.
Yeah, yes, they have to release PUBG on a Saturday.
Kids are good.
So whatever.
I know it's huge.
That's a massive market, and of course they should do that. Of course they should do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe they'll follow up with like a PC based version later or something. Not that I'm like dying to play this in any respect.
I wonder. I bet they. I wonder.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
it's entirely possible that this remains mobile only forever.
I mean, Square's been making a lot of money on mobile, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
So
this other game they announced, like it's kind of just those games again. It's Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, but it's a single player game that basically covers all the events of Final Fantasy VII and the sequels. So I don't know. You tell me.
What is that? That's Accent Core. Before Crisis,
Advent Children.
Advent Children.
Advent Children before Crisis, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah.
So,
and now Ever Crisis.
That's right.
And then Spirits Within.
And then
Ever Crisis was that name that got trademarked that we talked about a few weeks ago.
And then fucking Crisis.
Right.
And then Gonorrhea Crisis. Anti-Crisis. HC is going to be really good.
Yeah. Yes. Big fans of H around here.
Tell me about it. Yes, there's that battle royale. Actually, when you look at that thing, it doesn't look terrible. Like, it
looks like what you would expect. Absolutely. Like it's those locations and those summons and lots of green particles flying around and big swords. It's fine. I just think it's ridiculous.
Yes,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, the title of that game seems like something that parody is dead.
God, we haven't even made it to we haven't actually managed to say the name of the game. Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier is the name of this game.
Oh, that's okay. I literally thought it was called Final Fantasy.
No. That just pops up in the trailer at one point in a way that is really hard to get past.
It's a missed opportunity. That's the only thing anyone's going to call this game.
Yep.
At least the people who are playing it.
Yep. I guess the premise is like it's 30 years before Final Fantasy VII. They are trying to recruit for the soldier program that would go on to produce Cloud and Sephiroth, but
so they have this island and this plane.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Marshmallows there.
Yeah. So
and then you jump out. You on a snowboard.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's
on a mountain and snowboard down into.
I knew Ever Crisis was missing a game.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII came, and there it is. They need to rectify that immediately. Last piece of Sony news, like it's not straight from Sony, it's more from Activision, but Activision has advised that the sum total of Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and Modern Warfare / Warzone will potentially no longer fit on a 500 gigabyte PlayStation 4. The launch model, or actually still the base model, right? They still sell, I believe. They never did move to 1 terabyte as the base, right?
I believe that's correct. Yes, but yes, there are 500 gigabyte PS4s out there that cannot hold. So, like Warzone, you get things for Warzone by playing Black Ops Cold War, and so that is still technically sort of maybe part of the game. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but yes, You will not be able to fit all of this year's Call of Duty content on a 500 gigabyte PlayStation 4.
It just feels like right up there with the FF7 stuff. That's another eventuality that we were just going to hit eventually, right? And here we are.
Yeah. They've updated those games. They started with Modern Warfare. They've found ways to be like, oh, now you can uninstall the single player. Now you can uninstall the co-op if you don't want to do that stuff. And
yeah, like in fairness to them, like that is actually a pretty it's clunky, but it's a clever use of that feature in the console to get around that stuff. Like
it's very clunky.
On the PS4, they do not expose that stuff very well and make it maybe they've added messaging in the game now. I don't know. But
yeah, so it's like there's an options, like, you know, it'll say like install missing, and so you can hit a button to install. Okay. It'll show the additional packs you can install or uninstall.
So you can remove stuff from there, because previously you had to dig into kind of some pretty deep console level features to remove parts of Call of Duty.
That stuff is, I believe, surfaced. Well, you know, I guess I've only seen it on PlayStation 5, so I don't. No, the Modern Warfare they did update to that is an in-game thing for PS4 Modern Warfare.
Yeah,
and then. I don't know. It's,
you know, at the same time, like having just right up there with having to rebuild your console database and stuff like that, like having to manage the storage of this one game is a little bit nuts.
Well, if you only have that one game or two games, I guess, installed, there's not much of a database to rebuild.
It's true.
So it's
so this just brought to mind the idea of somebody just having their Call of Duty PS4 hooked up right next to their other PS4. It's like, that's my Call of Duty one.
A lot of people just have a Call of Duty PS4,
right? I was gonna say,
maybe Madden.
That's my Call of Duty box.
Well, there you go. Like they're solving the problem of competition. It's like now you can't buy Madden. It won't fit. So
that's right.
Like Battlefield
shot across the bow.
Oh yeah, new Battlefield. Where are you going to put that? Where are you going to stick that, motherfucker? Yeah. So
time to decide whose side you're on.
That's right. You know, whatever. You can plug an external drive into that thing.
Yeah.
Also, so there is that. But this was I guess this was always going to happen. I don't know. I'm having trouble being like shocked by this or whatever. I just look at it and go like, yeah, okay, I guess that had to happen at some point.
Yes, here we are.
Wild.
Yeah. All right, from the Sony block of the news segment to the EA block of the news segment, brought to you by Bloomberg. Sounded like a lot of moving and shaking at the corporate level happened at EA this week, and Jason Schreier, working his sources, reported on a bunch of it. This happened pretty quickly after the podcast last week, but the news came out that the Anthem Next project has in fact been killed. They reviewed internal footage and shut it down. So Anthem, as it exists, will persist forever, or until they shut those servers down.
In our hearts.
Right.
Yeah. Bioware, like immediately, like they obviously had a blog post ready to go, because like minutes after he put up his story, this blog post was up.
Because I mean, he kind of tipped his hand there a little bit and said, "Hey, this week they're like posted that he was aware that they were meeting about the future of Anthem, so they must have been like, okay, we have to make sure we manage this, because like that's going to get out immediately." So they had a post ready from the person who was the head of that project saying, "Hey, we're not moving forward with Anthem." I wonder how much the footage they even reviewed, because I feel like that's something you could just look at some charts and just go like, yeah, we've got a sentiment analysis chart over here. How much of a hit will it take if we don't do more Anthem stuff? Not much of one anymore. Did we ride that wave out? Okay, great. People are excited about Mass Effect. Great.
How much is it going to cost to build this team out and actually rebuild this game properly?
Right. And what's the upside of that? What do we actually get out of that? Other than like maybe this sentiment goes up ever so slightly with the handful of people that will still be aware that Anthem exists. Like
it's at the same time, like, I mean, yes, you're totally right. It is such a cynical, calculated corporate move compared to like thinking back on like a No Man's Sky or a Final Fantasy XIV, where like clearly people, those companies had like emotional attachment to those projects and wanted them to be the best they could be.
And I'm sure that there were people with Anthem. I'm sure there were people who very much wanted to.
Totally. It's just not the people making the decisions in that case.
Or just the scale of the problem they were facing there. Like to turn Anthem, like it was just a bigger type of game, and to turn that into something like the delta between where that game was and kind of where it needed to be to compete with something like Destiny is that's a whole lot different to a No Man's Sky, which is kind of like its own type of game. Like it doesn't really even have any competitors in that space necessarily.
So we streamed some Anthem on Friday, and like that really drove home exactly what you're saying. That like in my mind, it was like, oh, they just need to like rebuild the equipment system and like do a couple other things, and that game would be cool. But then we played some of it on Friday, and you're right.
Like everything down to the shooting.
It had a long way to go. It had a long way to go. I don't know.
They would not have gotten it there without substantial investment and
the return on the investment.
Exactly.
And how long does that take? And by the time that comes out in a couple of years, like, does anybody even remember what that game was? So
no, like people barely remember now. I mean, EA kind of like, as much as they kind of took it on the chin back when Anthem launched and did what it did, at the end of the day, they kind of dodged a bullet here, right? I mean, like they were able to like jingle keys and go, look at this, like just long enough for people to forget that Anthem happened, and then say like, oh, we're gonna reissue Mass Effect, and then we're gonna make a new one of those, and people were still like, yay, as opposed to, who are you? Who is BioWare?
Like,
what is BioWare? Are you even capable of doing this?
Like I remain shocked that BioWare got away with that. Like EA, of course, because EA is a big umbrella and they've got like eggs in other baskets, right? Like they got Battlefield and whatever. But like BioWare tanked the fourth Mass Effect game and then tanked their new IP right after that. And like, I still cannot believe that this fucking Mass Effect remaster, which to be fair, like looks like a pretty nice remaster, seems like it's just got everybody bullish about BioWare again. Like that's all it took,
and people will go like, even if people don't play it, they will look at footage of that and go like, man, yeah, I love Mass Effect, and tee them up for the next Mass Effect in a way that they wouldn't have been before. Like this is like a masterful magic.
I know,
trick.
dude. Yeah, it's
Randy Pitchford is watching this going like, I can't figure out how it works.
Sleight of hand, like I have never seen before.
Like they have done an amazing job of like navigating this, and it's in some ways that really sucks because like they have really done wrong by their customers and some of their biggest fans. Like sports games aside, who are the big rah fans of EA properties? Like Battlefield seems like it's a entry to entry thing of like, you know, like yes, it has a fan base of that style of game, but when it's bad, they're still bummed out. Like who's out there like cheering for the people behind any of EA's games? Respawn gets that treatment.
Like Respawn,
and they deserve it.
Yes. But it's Respawn, right?
But it's because it's Respawn. It's not EA. Like BioWare used to be in that bucket too, but with the amount of turnover of the kind of people that you thought of as public faces and the quality of the products, like it's just
eventually the corporate tendrils work their way in there.
Sure. I mean, the only, it seems like the good news out of this is that, you know, this kind of killed the thing where like Anthem was going to inform Dragon Age.
Yes, so that's that is the other shoe that dropped kind of around the same time. I think he reported this Anthem stuff. So just to close the loop on the Anthem stuff, they said these servers will remain up for the foreseeable future, or they just said, hey, the live game as it exists today will continue. I don't know, man. I give that like a year. I would not be at all surprised if this time next year we hear like, oh, we are beginning our plans to sunset the live game of Anthem.
And they'll do that because no one's playing it,
right? You know? They will look at the number of players, which will be effectively zero probably at some point. And
I mean, how high could it be now? Yeah. Like after making this announcement, even you know, if you had people that were like holding out hope, like Anthem Next is going to come out and they're going to fix all this, and I'm still playing Anthem. Like you have to imagine this news is the thing that makes them go like, oh, I'm an idiot. I got to uninstall. This is like when you find out that like, oh, what do you mean the pizza place wasn't being used to traffic? You're just like, oh, I got to uninstall Anthem.
Sure. Yeah, we found some people on Friday. Like there were some people, but they may have all been in there for the same reason we were, which was like, oh, we just heard this thing got killed off. Let's check it out a little bit. But I will not be shocked if that, you know, and that game will become like, you know, just from a preservationist standpoint, like the game will become unplayable entirely once they take those servers down. You will not be able to get past the title screen anymore.
Yeah.
On a $60 BioWare product. Yeah, like maybe somebody.
I'm going to start my Anthem private server. Just be direct.
Maybe somebody will reverse engineer that stuff at some point. Yes, but I mean, the best news out of this is that none of the developers that were on this reboot team got laid off. They have all gotten moved on to Dragon Age, which, like we were saying, is the next piece of this puzzle. Which is that out of all this executive decision making, it has come out that the multiplayer elements, the live service game elements in the next Dragon Age have been removed. That it is going to actually be a single player only game after all. And they cite the paths of 2 other EA games as kind of informing that decision. Anthem as a live service game really shit the bed. And at the same time, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is a purely single player game top to bottom, apparently has done extremely well and beaten their expectations by quite a bit. So I feel like that's just like, I don't know, whatever. I'm not a video game company executive. Obviously, there are plenty of factors that go into decisions like this, but just the appearance of just like, our memory is only as long as like the last couple games we put out. It's like, we just did this and just did
market,
that. So
though, right? Like,
you
got to look at where things are at any given moment and make decisions like based on recency.
It's not like there aren't other, live service games still doing gangbusters out there. Obviously, it's like a tightrope to walk to get it to that point, but like there's still tons of money in it. They just failed to do it, and so now they're just going to cut and run on it. But whatever, like that is unequivocally good news for Dragon Age, right?
Yeah.
But like maybe that would have been the game where they cracked the nut on this stuff, and it would have been amazing. But whatever. Like I don't think Dragon Age needs to be that style of game, and people seem very comforted by that news getting out there. So
yes. I mean, I saw nothing but backlash at all the rumors going around about the live service aspects of Dragon Age.
It seemed like a bad fit. It just seemed like, when you think about fantasy role-playing type games, you don't go in, it seems like more of a shootery thing, I think, just because of the disposable nature of some of those missions. I don't know, or it seems like the problem with the live services thing, which seems to now be dawning on a bunch of companies that have tried this far into it, is that there's like a limit on mindshare in that. Like you can't have lots of those games out being successful. You can have single player games where people get them and play them and maybe pick up some DLC or add-ons for them. And obviously the amount of money that's generated, the tail is shorter, but like there's a saturation point that's kind of happening there where, we're talking about it earlier, with some of these other games, that the mid-tier one of these now that pops up where it just doesn't get the critical mass required to keep one of those games, keep it beating. So it's I think that's like Avengers or something like that, right?
That's I think is the primary or the current example of just like, this doesn't seem like it needed to be this way, and I don't think you're going to make the money you thought you were going to make on cosmetics and all that other stuff, because that's why you do it, right? Is you get that long tail of like, I'm going to get this gun ornament, I'm going to get the like all that different stuff. But if you can't get it to catch on in the first place, you don't get any of that anyway. So yeah.
Maybe if there wasn't a guy standing there jawing at you about bringing the thunder for 10 minutes before he gave you a sales pitch on all his cosmetics. Never mind.
I don't know.
There's a deep Anthem cut. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's bringing the thunder, I think, is important if you're going to make a live game these days. For all the thunder they talked about bringing, they ended up bringing very little.
That's true.
I thought that was a Thor thing you were doing.
No, it's just this guy just goes on and on about how sick your javelin is. So now you really brought the thunder in that last mission. What if you got this new paint job on it?
What if I got this new paint job?
Yeah, not so much. It's just not, maybe they punched that up a little bit. I think that's pretty much it about this Dragon Age news. There was one tidbit in this Bloomberg story that I thought was kind of an interesting side of the times, where they were talking about, what led their decision making being Jedi Fallen Order doing well. They described that game as having, quote, won critical acclaim and outperformed EA's sales expectations, reaching more than 10 million players in its first 4 months. It's not sold 10 million copies. It's reached 10 million players. And I don't know, granted, that was not like a day one Game Pass game or something like that, but EA's got its own subscription service. I feel like that is just kind of the language now, right? In this kind of all you can play era of just like this success is not how many copies we moved off a shelf. It's just how many people played it, no matter how they were getting it.
They load up the leaderboards and they scroll to the bottom and say, that's how many people we reached. And then they look at how many copies they sold and say, we've got to stop used games. So it's crazy to think how different that conversation is compared to when EA was like, what if we made people pay $10 if they bought it used?
This is Project $10 was a long time ago. I still think Project $10 is such an amazing name for a corporate initiative.
It's a lifetime ago when you think about how shit runs now. Like,
that was the Riccatello era, right?
Yeah.
Like that
hallowed be thy name. No.
Well, there's some good stuff coming out in that.
There was
Dead Space 1 and 2 came out in that era.
I would take parts of that EA era more than what we've got right now, for sure.
Totally. Anyway, yes. Fans of Dragon Age, rejoice.
Now they just need to make that game, put it out. It seems like that game's been in development like for a while there. It was like this was the game that, well, Andromeda is going to come out and kind of set the stage for the tech that will be how they do Dragon Age. And then Anthem was also kind of in that boat and of like, Dragon Age is going to maybe be more like this now or more like this. And
I wonder how much of that was let's get the name out in the time, because who knows what the conversation around EA and BioWare was when that was announced. I can't even remember. But
Dragon Age was?
The new one. So it might have been just like push this out so people don't think we hate us, right now.
Push this out so it's harder for them to cancel it.
Right. Yeah, maybe. As well. Yeah.
Yes. That seems to be yes.
And that's another cycle of EA, man.
Speaking of EA canceling games,
almost like someone leaked NFL Blitz to us because they were worried it was going to get canceled. If they didn't,
maybe if anybody wanted to stop Gaia from getting canceled, the unnamed project at Motive in Montreal, maybe they should have been out there seeding news stories about it. This is the last piece of Schreier's reporting out of all this basically kind of executive pitch session. Where they decided whether to keep these projects going or not. There's not a ton of detail about what Gaia was going to be, other than that it's been in development for a very long time, since at least 2015.
This is one of the first Motive, like EA Motive.
It sounds like maybe the first project that started at Motive. Like in the story, he ties it to that period when Jade Raymond came in.
Jade Raymond's had a rough 5 years, man. Just jumping from dead project to dead project.
Yeah, like she came in to start up Motive, and it sounds like this was one of the first things they started working on, and then she left for Google. It sounds like it got rebooted at least once. But again, it never had a proper title, and like there's very little information in here about what it was actually going to be. But it was a very bumpy ride, it sounds like, and they worked on it for a long time. They absorbed some people from like Battlefront 2 and other EA teams at various times. Like that's cited as a reason for some turmoil, but ultimately we're never going to see what it was going to be. So
never found the fun.
Yeah. It's a long time for a brand new kind of marquee studio to work on something and then just kill it off. But
you got to invest, right? Like if you got to occasionally take one of those crazy pitches and just go like, all right, let's sink some years into something that if this pans out, it'll change video games. And that's something that EA kind of needs more than anything, is to have a big swing pay off instead of just like, all right, we're going to make another one of these. All right, here's another one of these. So
yes, I
can't fault them for trying to set that situation up, but
sure,
with the amount of overturn, like new people in control of those studios and all that other stuff, like it probably makes sense to like, that was the last guy's idea.
Right. That will happen. One more piece of EA news. This was announced by them directly. The new Need for Speed game, which Criterion was coming back to for the first time in I don't know how long, since they made a Need for Speed before Ghost Games took it over. But that was intended to ship in this fiscal year from now to next March. Has now been delayed an entire year so that Criterion can support the new Battlefield game, which is coming out this year. So
I wonder if this is the start of there seems to be a sentiment within a lot of studios and within the development community that the COVID sort of slowing down of projects is going to start to be felt this year. Then stuff is going to get kicked down the road.
So did you guys watch this? First of all, what is the new Twitter feature that is like Clubhouse? I can't believe that was just awful.
Spaces. Twitter Spaces.
Was it? I saw quotes coming out of this. I didn't watch it live, but I believe Jeff Keighley sat down with Reggie Fils-Aimé last week. Did you guys see this?
I did not. I heard about it.
So
I saw that it happened, but yes.
Yeah. So I saw some people like kind of quoting and paraphrasing from that chat. And like one of the ideas that came out of that was that a lot of games shipped last year because most of the work was already done. Like they were already close enough to the finish line that people could bring dev kits home and get them over and into a shippable state. But kind of the implication is don't expect that trend to continue into this year, that the disruption that this has caused to development efforts is much deeper than you might think, and probably going to be a lot of indie games propping things up this year, that the big AAA stuff has been impacted in a way. Anything that was further out than like shipping last year is like a ways off was
Yeah.
was the idea. So kind of
Yeah.
brace yourself for that stuff potentially. And you know,
Yes.
case in point, like, you know, this Need for Speed game is now slipping so that Battlefield can make it out.
Which
And
makes
I
sense,
think
right?
you know they were
That's-
a little more comfortable to do this because they just bought Codemasters and they have other driving games
Yes.
on their slate now that they didn't have before. So it gives them a little bit of wiggle room. And yeah, they probably can't miss Battlefield. Like they really have a lot riding on that
For
game,
sure.
probably making its date, all that sort of stuff.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think in reverse. So there was no dice game last holiday. Was there
Right.
one holiday before? I don't think so.
It's been because I think they took another year off, right?
Was
So
it
they've
two
been
holidays?
They've been supporting Battlefield.
Okay, because they were on an every holiday shipping schedule for a while there. You know, they were kind of leapfrogging Battlefront and Battlefield games.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, you're probably right. Like they cannot afford a third year in a row without a Criterion. I mean, a dice game out, right?
Yeah, they probably need that.
So
I guess there's been a lot of content packs for Battlefield by the looks of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing else doing. The from talking to some devs who are starting projects, that seems to be the big worry, that there's going to be like, right now we're going to have delays this year to next year. The next year might be okay because games that were like kind of 2/3 done, they're getting used to COVID and all that. But it's after that again, especially with bigger projects where they're having to like do the ideation and brainstorming part of game design, which nobody knows how to do that remotely. Like that's a whole other thing. That then there might be even there's going to be this sort of echo to the COVID stuff we're going to feel for 3, 4, 5 years.
I mean, that's like something, even we are dealing with that. Like everybody's dealing with that, right? Like in this remote situation, you have to contrive opportunities to collaborate. It's not like, you don't just run into somebody when you're both getting lunch and like have a 10-minute chat that turns into like, oh, that's where the idea came from that went into that game, right? Like you have to schedule video chats. Like you have to make time to talk to people, and like
then it just feels like less organic or creative.
Right,
when
there's just inherently less sort of like exposure face to face with people for ideas to percolate. So I get it. That's rough for sure.
It's going to be weird for a long time. Like and Japan seems like it. For as much as we can talk about EA and all this other stuff, like a lot of Japanese development, I think got hit even harder than that for reasons of just like culturally, they're not necessarily. This is something I was talking. I was on Clubhouse talking to some folks, but it was that idea of just like, okay, these are they might not even have like room at home to set up an office and do work there, and like because of the size of some Japanese apartments and so on and so forth. But like just across the board, it's just fucking. This will be years of drama. You're right, Danny.
I'm sorry.
What's happening over in Brad land?
I try not to quote from chat too much here, but Davo42 in the chat obviously has been there. Did someone say virtual offsite?
God. Second Life.
I felt like I just felt my stomach jump up into my throat when I read that phrase.
Wait a second. Valheim. Set up a little jam area. There's like a little area where we just put a bunch of draggers in a pen and we could beat them up. Build your own house contest. Smallest house that'll make a workshop still work. And
then if you win, we make your game. That's the pitch process now. Is who can make the best small house in Valheim.
Yes.
Hunt the troll.
100 game designers drop onto an island.
Well, I wonder, like, this is actually probably a bad idea, but I wonder if anyone has tried, like, okay, we need to recreate some kind of organic space of people getting together and just like shooting the shit. I wonder if anyone's been like, all right, we're all going to get in VR chat or some kind of like VR shared space, and we're just going to hang out and talk about whatever, it's like, hey, like EA, just some studio with a bunch of different games running, like rather than a Zoom call. I wonder if anyone been like, why don't we try doing this in VR and see if that limbers anybody up? in a
Right,
way that
and the locational audio totally changes the dynamic. Where
Yeah.
it's not just one person and everyone's looking at them talking. You know,
exactly, and it's not people worrying about like the background shot and is my fake background funny or enough, or instead it's people like going like, I want to be the biggest hot dog running around this environment.
there you go. That's your Christmas party 2021.
I could go for the biggest hot dog right now.
Yeah, man.
I'll read one line from this EA messaging about this Criterion to Battlefield change, just to give you a little bit of context about what they're saying about the game. The project is tracking towards the franchise's earliest alpha. The gameplay is at an unprecedented scale, and we are taking full advantage of the technology in the next-gen consoles. So there's your update on the new Battlefield.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Need for Speed for a sec. I'm like, no. Like Need for Speed doesn't need scale. That's the thing that's been ruining it.
No. This is their preamble to, hey, we are putting Criterion on this game. Is, hey, this thing's shaping up to be pretty awesome. We need some help to get it over the line.
I don't know if it's rumors or people
games
just trying to make assumptions, but it seems like that game. The talk about Battlefield is that they may go back to like a more modern setting and that they want a much larger player count.
Bring back
anyway,
Revolution.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yes. If you want to actually make a cool Battlefield game, make Bad Company 3. Stop screwing around.
You smell very clean.
Yeah.
I like to smell clean.
Also, and some people in chat have been saying this for a while now. Do you believe anything EA says now after all the stuff about Anthem and how all the stuff has gone with them and, the Anthem roadmap, and that's still that company. That's still every company at the end of the day, though.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, I got the sense from some of the reporting out of BioWare that it was still a little bit more independent from EA than some of their other studios. I don't know. That's just a perception.
I bet it's less now.
Maybe so. Yeah, but like some of the. Like there are those stories where like they were going to pull flying out of the game until they got it in front of executives at EA and showed it to them. And they were like, oh, that's the thing in this game. Like, that's what you need to build this game around, and it's just like kind of one hand doesn't know what the other one is doing at times. It's kind of the impression. But anyway, last story here real fast. The city of Los Angeles has listed E3 2021 as a canceled live event. This is probably basically housekeeping. Not exactly.
So Kensha Hall's available that week.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. There's an opening here.
Yeah.
How are we going to capitalize on this? Let's go set up that hot dog cart.
You're looking at socially distanced hot dogs. Are you just like flinging them at people?
Yeah. You can do it. Just like wrap them real good and
Football style, toss them to people. Sure.
Yeah, you can throw hot dogs safely. Hell yeah.
You can throw hot dogs safely. I've been there.
Didn't Dan catch a hot dog at PAX once? Yeah.
Yes.
One of the craziest things I've ever fucking seen.
Wait, was that Dan? I forget. I forget. I think I know what you're talking about. Yes. Okay. I mean, they had all but, they basically said it was going to be a digital only thing, but just so you know, just in case they change their mind, I think LA is going to be like, no, sorry, that ship sailed. So there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the news. Let's take another break and read some emails. Oh, we'll be right back.
Hi, did you know that 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the time they're 35? It's true. More than 50 million men in the U.S. suffer from male pattern baldness, and there are only 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss. Keeps offers both. Keeps offers a simple, stress-free way to keep your hair. They got a convenient virtual doctor consultation, and the medications are delivered straight to your door every 3 months. You don't have to leave your home. This is low cost. Treatments start at just $10 per month, and Keeps offers generic versions to keep those costs down. Discreet packaging, proven results, and more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. Prevention is key. Treatments can take 4 to 6 months to see results, so act fast. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/bomb to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/bomb to get your first month free. Keeps.com/bomb. keeps.com/bomb.
Jeff, what do you see?
I see.
What do you see?
I see
What do you see?
email.
Yeah, that's right. Man, he's got a clairvoyant over here.
That's me.
How did he know? How could he
Clairvoyant.
possibly have known?
That's Ms. Voyant if you're nasty.
Okay, that's her. The Giant Bombcast's favorite psychic. Email time, as the man said. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the address to send your emails to. Here are some emails that got sent. This one comes from Giovanni in Germany. The GameCube controller has been supported over 4 generations of consoles, from the GameCube to the Switch. From what I can tell, the only competition it has is the PlayStation Move with 3 consoles. Is it apt to say that the GameCube controller is the most successful controller of all time? If not, what would it be?
I would say it's the cockroach of fucking video game controllers.
Yes, I
You
would
keep
agree.
trying to stamp that piece of trash out, but people keep dragging it forward for another 5 fucking years.
Forced to agree with you on that.
How am I connecting a GameCube controller to a Switch exactly?
Let's see.
They've
I
got-
believe there's a USB adapter now, right?
Yeah. There's a USB adapter that has like 4 ports on it, and
And that came out for the. Did that come out for the Wii U originally, or because it's
yeah, maybe.
for Smash Brothers, and so
Yeah.
Oh, right. It just still works.
Did
keep making
Nintendo
those.
release that themselves? I know like 8-Bit Do has been out there with some wireless stuff that enables those controllers too, right?
Right.
That's essential. Otherwise, this doesn't play. You can't
Yeah.
say that because I'm sure I can get like a zip disk adapter. Zip stick adapter.
Get a zip dick.
Playing too much Bulletstorm. I'm gonna punch you in the zip dick. I would make a distinction between being the most prolific and the most successful. I think that it can be very widespread and not be successful at all. I think that controller is pretty bad, despite how much people use it. The PlayStation Move, likewise, that thing is also terrible.
Yeah.
If anything, it shows how little desire there was to reinvent it. These are all just dead controllers. Like the DualShock, they want to make more money, so they keep making new versions of it.
Yeah,
the whole way.
The Move at least was pretty good when it came out. Like I don't think the GameCube controller was ever good, frankly.
It was neat. Like the analog with the click at the end was like a cool idea, and
yes, the triggers feel pretty good on that thing. That's the coolest part.
That yellow thing I never got.
Yeah, that stick is not great. The lima bean shaped button is not my favorite. Just yeah, I do like the idea of a gigantic ass button in the middle that just says A on it. That's not bad. But I don't know. I would say the Xbox 360 controller, I feel like, has been perhaps the most actually widely used controller. Maybe. It's up there.
Certainly, yeah, because it was standardized, for PC.
Right.
That's definitely something that I use the most and felt the most comfortable with. Like even now, like I still really like the feel of the original 360 controller. Not the D-pad, of course. D-pad is ass.
Yeah.
Yes.
However, the rest of it still feels great.
Yes.
I love the D-pad on the new Series X controllers a lot.
It's good.
Oh my God.
It's a little clicky, a little loud, but it feels real good.
Oh yeah.
I found my Halo 4 transforming D-pad 360 controller the other day. The one that would rotate if you wanted more of a disc, and you kind of bring the diagonals down for more of a cross.
Those became essential toward the end of the 360. Absolutely. Could not do without that. He says, as a follow-up question, what is a piece of hardware that you wish would finally stop being supported?
GameCube controller.
Okay. All right. There you go. Just doubling down. Nothing else to be said. Joaquin from Chile. I don't know if this is apropos of anything in particular, but is Konami desperately trying to find Tim Sweeney's phone number to put Solid Snake in Fortnite?
No.
Is that
I think he's
because
able to be
Konami
found.
doesn't know what Fortnite is.
I was going to say, is that because of their failure to recognize a sterling business opportunity? Because that seems like something they should do with Solid Snake.
Is he the most Fortniteable character in Metal Gear Solid? Like maybe Raiden would fit in better.
I don't know why Otacon is the first thing that came to mind for me.
Kids love that old man.
Yeah.
They're buying that skin. They're doing the dances.
He was
Otacon doing one of these things.
He's like a 20-something anime nerd when they introduced him.
Yeah.
Perfect for the Fortnite audience.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'd like to see the bees guy in there.
Okay, sure.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Sure.
Chain, is it? I forget which.
I think that's right.
Is that a different one?
The
Dude,
end.
I
if you
replayed
talk
Metal
about
Gear
old
Solid
man.
4
Yeah,
recently.
that old man.
All of those bosses in MGS4 are fantastic.
Right.
All of the weird, like the three ladies and the they're such good games. I sound too much like Dan now. Sorry, falling
Yeah.
over.
You gotta watch
I,
that.
I like
Solid.
4 a lot, but I haven't gone back to it since the one time I played it.
It's wild.
That game had fucking style and
Yeah.
was out of its goddamn mind in the best possible way.
Sure.
And just even the fake TV show shit at the beginning,
Yeah.
if you let just
I've said it before. I used that method of cooking eggs for a while, and it was pretty good. God, for the install screen where Solid Snake just stands there and smokes
hangs out
For
and smokes.
15
for
minutes.
like
yeah.
20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, yeah. I don't know. I almost don't want to know if it holds up. I want to just leave it where it is and pretend it definitely does.
Yeah.
Question from KC: is manwish a type of chili?
No.
Hmm.
I feel
Why?
like chili needs beans.
Oh, dude, don't even open that can of beans.
Really?
That is like, dude, that is like one of the hottest arguments in food. I think is,
Yeah.
does chili have beans in it or not? There is a
Yeah.
very militant anti-bean faction out there.
Really?
I think
Yes, I'm with you. I would much rather take chili with beans than without. But some people will not have it.
why would people not like beans?
I
Beans
don't
are
know.
good.
I don't know. You tell me.
Put beans in the chili.
They got protein. They got fiber. There's all kinds of different beans. There's
So
why
many.
not?
Nobody hates all beans, right? So there's always like somebody. Maybe you don't like refried beans, but you like baked beans or black beans.
Yeah. There's a bean for everybody.
Yeah.
I like all those beans.
Kidney
right.
beans.
That's
Sure.
right.
Get some chili con carne.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. I'll eat a lima bean. I'm not above it.
Uh-huh. Get some garbanzo beans. Why not?
Oh yes.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
you mean the humble chickpea?
Mm-hmm.
When at the start of COVID, when I was doing the shopping, my wife would put down chickpeas on the supermarket list, and for a good 3 months, I was like, "No, they're still out of chickpeas." And then she was like, "You know, they're called garbanzo bean." I was like, "Oh yeah, no, they've shitloads of those." Sorry.
I feel like I don't know why chickpea has become. I feel like the default term recently because garbanzo was so fun to say.
Yeah.
Garbanzo.
Hummus beans.
Yes, sure. Oh man. God, I haven't had manwich, and I don't even know. Years and years.
What is
and years.
manwich?
It's
like
it's
sloppy
it is a
Joe
popular
stuff.
sloppy Joe
Okay.
kind of instant. Like you buy it in a packet and just mix it with some ground beef and water. I think is all it takes. Now you got sloppy Joes.
Yep.
American cuisine. Love it.
That's right. Yes.
I think one of the
I
steps is like step 3, call yourself a chef.
Yep.
I just think
Rustlers,
sloppy
baby.
Joes suck.
Oh,
I
sloppy
always
Joes are
have.
fine.
They've all just. I don't like meatloaf also for similar reasons.
Oh, I like
I just-
meatloaf's good too.
Too many onions.
I always liked when it was sloppy Joe and I ate it when I was a kid because it's almost like I was getting a hamburger.
Almost so close.
What if you
almost-
just got a hamburger? Well, all right.
Because those didn't really happen for dinner on a normal night. That was a special occasion thing, and
All
it was like, man, I feel like I'm almost getting away with something here.
It's like a half a special occasion when
That's
you get
right.
sloppy joes. Okay.
That's right. Josh from Colorado writes in about the Frogger reality show. Wouldn't a Pitfall reality show make more sense?
Look, Konami doesn't own Pitfall.
Fair. That's why they're not getting characters of note into Fortnite. They're too busy producing reality television.
Yeah. Put
So where
Frogger in
money is.
Fortnite.
Now you're talking. Does Frogger have arms?
Yeah, it's a frog.
Yeah.
It's just a frog.
Hmm.
You know what a frog is, Brad, right?
They got arms and legs.
No, help me out.
It's like a
Ribbit.
yeah.
Play
like
like
a
a
toad.
guitar usually.
Is it
Gex,
like
it's
like
slower.
Rabbit? Is it anything like a robot rabbit?
Croak is
Sing
toad,
songs.
right?
Yeah.
Come on, Jeff. You guys read a lot of kids' books. You know, Croak is toad and Ribbit is frog.
Oh, we these kids' books are such that we don't even get into toads. Like toads might as well not even exist. Much like a pony is just a horse. Like we're just talking horses now. What's a donkey? It's a horse. We'll get into the distinctions later.
Cow,
it's fine.
weird horse, slow horse.
Weird horse. No, cow is distinct because it moos, and that's a.
Oh, I was about to ask, what does the cow say? Okay,
That's
good to know.
Lately it says. That's kind of the
Pretty good.
Yeah.
This is a question from Snacks in Bakersfield.
Wow. The 5th member of Korn. Sorry, 6th member of Korn.
Yeah.
Right, it's Snacks with a Z. Even.
Monkey
That's-
snacks.
You got it.
Ed.
Fieldy,
Mm-hmm.
JD.
God. Just reminded me of the phrase "Fieldy's Dreams," and I just cannot help thinking of that
a great
set
record.
of words
Great record.
without laughing.
I think this is like the 3rd time I've managed to mention Korn on this since I came back.
Oh my God.
That.
Korn's back. They're making
Korn is
coffee.
back.
Yeah.
Are they?
Korn coffee.
Yeah.
There's a video of Korn talking about its coffee.
Wait, what is it called?
It's just
Coffee
called
with a
Korn
K, I
coffee.
think.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry I asked. Wait, really? Is that all?
Probably has some
It?
backwards F's in there as well.
Like it's not like "Are you ready for coffee" or something?
Are you blind
No.
coffee?
All day I dream about caffeine. It's not, yeah.
Oh man.
C.O.F.
Mm-hmm. No, it is just coffee with a K. Is just, and the K is not even backwards.
Was the R that's backwards, right? The K is
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there's no R in coffee, so you're right.
Carfee.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Missed opportunity.
Okay, I guess I should read this email.
They have ground coffee. They have wired roast. Corn wired, in quotes, coffee is a special edition Italian roast formulated by J. Guernsey Coffee specifically for corn coffee, comprised of Ethiopian and Colombian at a 2-to-1 ratio with a Robusta bean.
Robusta bean.
I want to hear Jonathan Davis say Robusta bean.
Word up!
And,
Yeah, we're Yep.
Wasn't
Sorry.
expecting that. Just drop that on me.
I'm sorry. Korn's low effort workman-like branding on their coffee products does not get a word up.
all right.
They really fucking phoned it in. Just coffee with a K, really? The deep catalog of Korn references they could draw.
Look,
from.
someone approached them and said, "Hey, would you lend your fucking face to a coffee?" And they said, "Sure."
Man,
It works. I tried to buy it. It was a Deftones beer that got released last week that I tried to get. And it was like sold out. Sacramento's right there.
That's all it
Yeah,
takes.
yeah. That's...
I guess that's all it takes. Just slap your name on something and go.
You just wait till NoClip starts releasing like non-fungible art, my friend.
God damn it! You fucking beat me. I was literally trying to say the words non-fungible. I have to read this email. Okay, God
Sorry.
help us. What are we even talking about? Here we go. It's about Reiko Nagase.
Finally. God damn it.
There was a time when it seemed like a new generation of consoles couldn't launch without a new Ridge Racer. However, we haven't seen a new one for almost a decade now. Where is Reiko Nagase? How do we get her back on the track?
She's flying a plane in the strange reel by now, probably.
God, you're probably right. Is it like an alternate dimension? Did she get sucked into there?
No, I think it's all the same dimension.
Wait,
doesn't
Wait,
like,
are you saying Ridge Racer takes place in the strange reel?
I mean, if you look at all the brand names and stuff that show up on those cars and cross-reference it with things that are known to take place in the shared Namco cinematic universe, where they say even Xevious is somehow set in that universe, then almost certainly.
Man.
The Strange Real Historia has all this stuff in it. You just have to...
Yes. Too
Sounds
heavy
like
for
the good foundations for a battle royale game.
that book is too heavy for your coffee table, though. There's too much in there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sticking with the video game car game theme. This email is signed Cheesy Camouflage Dude from some Nordic country.
Cool.
Subject line evil car manufacturers. Wait, what? Just need to jump in.
No, it just sounds like he's Hitman.
Okay. It is known that car manufacturers do not like to see their cars being demolished in video games. That's why any game with real licensed cars typically has very limited damage modeling. Only games like Burnout, Wreckfest, and BeamNG.drive that only have fictional cars are able to have elaborate soft body damage modeling for their vehicles. Do you think that if these limitations set by car manufacturers didn't exist, we'd also see soft body damage modeling in games like Forza, Need for Speed, and Gran Turismo? Or do you think that developers wouldn't bother developing complex damage modeling physics for games where the point is not to crash? Also, without these limitations, do you think that if the racing game market might be different altogether, since it seems like most of the popular racing games have licensed cars?
I
Kind of an
don't
interesting chicken and egg
Yeah.
question.
I don't think they would develop it to the same degree that like a BeamNG or a Wreckfest. I don't think they would go that far with it, because at the end of the day, there's limited resources for all those games, and would they do more in Forza? But also, they do more in Forza now than they used to. So like, for as much as that's probably still a thing that car manufacturers do say, they have lightened up in the name of authenticity over the years. It used to be, hey, no damage or light denting, but like don't show the windshield cracked, or Jeeps can never flip because we don't want people to think that a Jeep could ever roll, and shit like that. So I think that has changed because they've been able to go back and say like, hey, we're trying to like Forza. Look at that, like they care about those cars. They love those cars. They want to make love to those cars. Like they. They can go back to the manufacturers and say, hey, we've done a lot of these. You trust us. Like, we're not going to be crazy. Like, let us be a little bit more realistic here with how this stuff works.
Yeah. Also, with their
way,
they've gotten away from it a little bit, but when they had such an aggressive release schedule, I could see it being a thing that like, okay, we need another way to differentiate both from Gran Turismo and also from ourselves, because we put out so many damn games. Let's finally do damage. Like, let's put it on the box this year. Like now with damage, you know what I mean?
The thing is, I don't think they ever put it on the box for the same reason. Like, like EA doesn't promote fight. Well, because those games don't have fighting in the hockey games. Don't have fighting in them anymore, do they?
I don't know.
None of us would know. But like yeah, right. They rarely would advertise, hey man, the fighting is sicker this year, because that's not, at the end of the day, not what they're trying to promote. So like Forza, even when they got better with damage, it wasn't really something they were like, oh yeah, look at it. They didn't ever really shine a light on it that much.
Yeah. What the other thing that gets lost in, because I play a lot of Formula One games, right? And like damage is part of that. Like similar thing, they don't want to show, crashes that could be fatal or whatever, but also there is damage, obviously, because that's a big part of the sport, losing front wings and punctures and all that sort of stuff. But one of the things that gets lost in translation, especially with games like Gran Turismo and Forza, is that when most cars crash, road cars crash, they're just meant to fall apart. Like they're designed to be undrivable once they crash, right? Like they're meant to save the person who's driving them and nothing else. So what is damage in a game where you're driving around a Peugeot or a Ferrari sports car and you crash it? Like, how do you realistically do damage? And if you crash a Ferrari F40 at 30 miles an hour, you're not going to drive it again.
Like, at some point, they just have to err on the side of like, we want to make this game playable and fun for a wide swath of people. And it turns out, if having the alignment on a car get out so much that when you stop moving the stick, it drags into the wall, that's just not fun. Like even if it's a semi-realistic simulation, at some point you're like, we just don't. So I think they shied away from that. There was an era where they were like, oh man, when your car gets jacked up, it's going to drive like shit. And you're like, that's awesome. Oh wait, this sucks. This super sucks. So
iRacing exists for a reason, right?
Or games like Flat Out, where it's like, it's realistic, but like those cars are way more drivable than they should be.
Yeah.
But also the format you're playing in is about shunting each other. It's not, super hypercars that are supposed to be like faster than each other. It's a different type of racing game.
They're just going to disintegrate the minute you hit a bug or something. Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to smash through all those beautiful English countryside walls like you can in Horizon 2.
So good. All right, couple more quick emails here. Another controller one from Simon in Seattle. In your opinion, what are the best trigger and thumbstick labels across the Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo controllers? Despite not owning a Sony console since the PS2, I think L1, L2, L3, R1, R2, R3 are by far the most straightforward. Nintendo's LZL and RZR scheme always has me looking at the controller to figure out which one to press. I admire Xbox's use of bumper and trigger, but also find them a little confusing, especially when I need to explain them to someone else.
I haven't had an issue explaining to my son like bumper and trigger. Like he gets that.
The trigger's good because they look like triggers. I mean, they very much look like triggers on a firearm, so it's pretty easy to.
Exactly.
And then the bumper is the one that's not the trigger.
I just think bumper is a bad name. If
Yeah.
they had gone with like maybe what if they went with like trigger and shoulder? It was like
Yeah.
a LSRS instead of LBRB. Maybe
I
that
think
would be-
I think I mix them up. Like I actually do R1 and right trigger. Like I don't call it a bumper. Holy shit.
Well, it didn't help that there was that while there where like on the PS3, because the triggers on that thing sucked so much, they would swap buttons on the
Yeah.
shoulders compared to what an Xbox would do.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
That was not great.
that was yeah.
They're
They're more triggered. They're more triggery now than they even were.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they
You know,
definitely
so-
are. How are you without bumper? How are you going to get the bumper jumper?
Yeah,
It's an important
you're
piece
right.
of video
You're
game
right.
history. He is not wrong. The Nintendo ZR stuff is awful. Like
I can't tell you right now without getting up and looking which ones are R and which ones are Z, or which one is R, which one is ZR.
The bigger, more trigger-like ones are the Z
The
ones.
Z's, okay.
Yes.
That
I
makes
still
sense.
couldn't tell
but-
you which of the face buttons on.
I'm surprised he didn't mention that, because like the reversal between Nintendo and Xbox for that like drives me insane. Like
Yep.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because I did another Joy-Con shell mod this weekend and I had to take those buttons out and
Oh yeah, how
swap
did that
them
go?
into a new face.
You showed
Uh,
them last week.
What's that?
You showed them last week. How did that go?
Did I?
The mod. Yeah.
It was not bad. I mean, I did one before. This is the different company is making them. They were much higher quality than the old crappy ones. So, but it is not the easiest job. There's like 8 very tiny ribbon cables you need to deal with tweezers.
No.
thanks.
It is a pain, but
I mean,
got it.
Xbox just adapted the Dreamcast button labeling, right?
yeah.
So
The weird thing is, like, I think of the Nintendo scheme as the odd one now. Like that's the non-standard one to me now. Even though that one is way older.
a lot of cases, like when you're configuring controllers on a Mister or an emulator or something like that, where it says like which one's button B, and you have to go like, oh, I don't even know. With like Neo Geo CD controllers, I always have to like Google, like, show me a picture of this thing. Which one is A and which one is B? A because it's A B C D.
Yeah.
Is it vertical or horizontal? Like, yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. There's another weird like holdover and like adherence to tradition in those recent Capcom games, like that Ghouls and Ghosts Resurrection. Actually, I guess it was more in that arcade collection one, because like B is bottom and A is above it. You know what I mean? It's like it's on a kind of down diagonal the way you do your thumb.
Yeah.
But because A was always jump in those games back in the day, even though they were horizontal back then and it made more sense, they still stick to that scheme for those games. So you've got your thumb at this like really uncomfortable angle to be hitting the jump and the attack at the same time, instead of
Right.
like all they care about is the letters on the buttons, not where they actually naturally are and what feels better for your thumb. It's a weird thing. I don't know. Controllers.
Yeah, it was weird. Even back on the NES, having B before A seemed like a strange, like left to right. Seemed strange then. It's just there wasn't much else going on out there, so it never really.
Remember the TurboGrafx Roman numeral 1 and 2?
Yeah, and then
I think they did the same thing, right? 2 is left to right is before 1, I think. Or is it the other way?
Now that's the other one I have to look up because
shit.
I'm usually trying to map one of their 6-button controllers where they have like Roman numerals for all of them.
Dude, mapping the PC Engine controller and the Mister is hard. That's a lot.
Well, the answer is like never map all 6 buttons because you're not playing most of the 6-button games very often. You're right. 2 is left, 1 is right. On the Master System, 1 was left and 2 was right.
All right, moving on.
We don't realize how good we have it these days.
Yes, indeed. Last pair of emails. They're about Daryl Hall.
Cool.
MJ in Scottsdale.
6th member of Corn.
Yes, that's right.
Halsey.
I have never been to Daryl's house, but I am familiar with the experience. I grew up in the area, which was upstate New York, and my father and uncles frequented Daryl's house in the early to mid 2000s. Sadly, I was too young to join. Also, my cousin was on retainer as a masseuse for guest musicians during the same period. You're right about the set being just a living room. In the days before the TV show, it was also a potluck. A few hours prior to showtime, fans set up tables and chairs in the yard outside, and everyone would bring food and drinks. The party would resume after the show, and many of the musicians would hang out until the wee hours of the morning. These are fond memories for my family, and Daryl Hall, by all accounts, was an extremely gracious, down-to-earth host. Bonus question, what are you bringing to Daryl Hall's potluck?
6 bean chili.
Ooh.
Every type of bean.
That's a lot of name 6 beans.
I already did. Can I say garbanzo beans and chickpeas? They're two.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
It's you right there.
No,
Good
I'm
one.
done.
Not bad. I don't know why. I don't know why little cocktail weenies came to mind for me. I'd make the in the kind of the grapey sauce. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What about like just a bunch of lemon meringue pies?
Okay. All right, man. This is dude. I want to go to this potluck.
This
I want to
sounds
go
pretty
anywhere.
Whew. All right.
Rice
do you bring,
Krispie
Jason?
treats, but with weed in them. I don't know.
Now I'm trying to decide if Daryl Hall seems like a Rice Krispie treats but with weed kind of guy or not.
Maybe you would look at those and go like, okay, all right,
All right, man.
all right.
Whatever
Come
you're
over
into.
here.
It's cool,
I don't
bro.
go for that.
Yeah. Does he? He cannot go for that.
No can do.
All right. Last email. Toby in Cleveland, Ohio. Was excited to hear you guys talk about Daryl's house. A few years ago, my indie punk band, we were on Epitaph Records at the time, if that gives you any hints as to the sound,
Okay.
was inexplicably booked at Daryl's House Club, which is his venue/restaurant/bar in Pawling, New York. The space is modeled after his actual house and is the set for the web series. It was one of the most bizarre shows I have ever played. The space is set up as a family restaurant with dining tables on the floor all the way up to within a few feet of the stage. We played on an off night, and our audience that night was the touring package and one single family that decided to sit at a table right against the stage. They still filmed the show and broadcast it all around the building on large TVs. So we played our set at almost full volume while watching ourselves on TVs across the room and while also trying to avoid eye contact with the 5 people eating dinner at our feet.
Jesus.
I remember the staff. Yeah, right. I remember the staff actually being super cool and we were fed and paid well, but the show itself felt like we had stumbled into the Black Lodge for a few hours.
That's
Anyway.
amazing.
That
Anyway,
sounds like an
that's
actual
cool.
nightmare.
Yes. Well,
Like
it's awkward, but
Yeah.
it's
Sometimes, I mean, that's the, you tour, you get weird shows, right? I mean, I didn't tour much when we were in a band, but I think everyone has their share of just like, oh, we played this one place and the toilet was like that. Just like there's always something strange where it's just like, oh, we were misbooked here and it was halfway that scene from the fucking Blues Brothers, except we didn't have chicken wire.
so like a bunch of 70-year-old grannies showed up or something. But like the Illinois Nazis are way worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Green Room's a good movie.
Man, I want to go to Daryl's house now.
Yeah.
That sounds
all
nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty good time. All right. That's it for emails. Bombcast@giantbomb.com. Thanks to everyone who wrote in. It brings us just about to the end of the show here. Thanks everybody for listening. Danny, thank you as always for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
man.
Pleasure.
We've got some updates.
We got some videos coming out. I'm sure we don't produce as much as you guys, so there can be weeks where there's nothing coming out. But we did a big Patreon refresh thing. We put up a video where we were like, kind of, I don't know, talking about our plans for the future and like the stuff we're stopping doing and some new ideas we have about covering classic games. But I think everyone thought we were shutting down. so a lot of people watched it and were like, oh no, you guys are cool. It's really funny. Like the engagement on the video is really high and then it drops off after like the point where I say, this is what we're doing. And they're like, oh, okay, we're cool.
Everybody's like, oh,
All right.
Yeah. So no clip's not going anywhere.
Cool.
If I went to do it anyway. So yeah,
Awesome.
more stuff coming. Classic games. The patrons vote on what game we cover in classic games. So they're doing it right now. So I have no idea what they're talking about.
They're just clicking a button marked there, and they're going to make you open that copy of UT. Is that the?
Yeah, no, I don't. Dude, if they picked Unreal Tournament, that would be. I might have to
Put a little thumb on the scale for that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you intend to be trying to track developers of these old games down?
That's the idea, yeah. And we, we're sort of at the whim of the patrons. We did a documentary years ago on Half-Life for the 20th anniversary of the first game getting launched, and Valve didn't respond to us, so we just did one anyway. So we interviewed like modders and, you know, fans of the other game studios. Like we had Vince Zampella and Corey Barlog and Randy Pitchford actually on that one. So yeah, you can always just make it anyway. So we'll just make it anyway. We'll see how it goes.
Can I ask? I don't. Excuse me. I don't want to dig too much into your process or whatever.
Sure.
But when you give the possible, you know, voting choices for games to go after in that context, how much legwork do you do per game to find out how hard it would be to actually track some of those developers down? Do you at least like look into it a little bit and see like, okay, here's who this is, and they seem to still be around?
Well, this type of way is totally new to me. So ask me again in a couple of weeks. But yeah, you know, you guys know enough developers and you know the sort of lay of the land. You can suss out where you're like, oh, that one would be pretty, like they're available. They're working on a modern game, or this person we haven't heard from in 10 years. So that might be trickier. Or, you know, it's always something like, oh, they put out a game recently and it bombed. So they probably don't want to talk about an old game that was good or that type of thing. So I have no idea what they've put in there. So I'm going to check it out in a second.
Can people just add games? Can I just go type in Mr. Do?
So the way we're doing this, because this is the first time we've ever done it. So the way we're doing it is we're doing like open suggestions today. And then in like a couple of days, we're going to do a poll. So we'll whittle it down to, you know, I'll put 1 or 2 and I want to do. We'll take like 3 or 4 that they want to do. And then, yeah, let's see where the wheel ends up landing.
All right. Well, as a patron, I will.
Might not be in the tier, man. Might have to.
Damn it, $20 tier.
Yeah, right, yeah.
What do I look like? I'm not made of money. But I want to type Mr. Do into this thing.
I had a Mr. Do email queued up that I decided not to read, but Mr. Do somehow wormed his way into the show anyway.
I will post your suggestion, and then people can thumbs it up if they want. We'll see.
I just want the story of how a Mr. Do slot machine ended up on the set of an AEW wrestling pay-per-view.
Man,
I'm sure one of our patrons is listening to this right now, and we can do that. We can post it in. So
some serious investigation required to track that one down.
Right.
Yeah.
Check out Danny's stuff at noclip.video, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
youtube.com/noclipvideo.
Yeah.
Video on that one.
Yeah. Some other guy got no clip.
Oh,
check him out too, though. I bet he's cool.
Probably also fine. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. This has been another edition of the Giant Bombcast. We'll be back with another one same time next week. See you then.